We should be audible. You should be audible. I should be audible.
You're
Audibility.
definitely audible now. And am I?
You too.
And am I?
We do.
Those
And
aren't
am
how.
I?
That's not how. That's not how words work.
It is now.
I'm gonna mute that because it's really throwing me off.
Yeah, that's discomfort. It can be very disquieting.
Like that. What's it called when they? There's a thing where you talk, but you'd have like sound cancelling headphones on, and it would play what you were
Oh,
saying at like a slight delay.
yeah. Fold back.
That
Well,
was a that was
it's
that
not.
was a thing for a minute.
Yeah. 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 So, hi Sam.
Hello.
It's just us.
It is. We've we've been let loose upon an unsuspecting internet.
We have been freed from the binds of neurotypicality.
Oh, that that's not recent.
It's not recent, and all of the wild hypotheses we make just during the week we get to now just talk about because the other two are away, and so that's what we're doing.
That's what I was saying. So it's just we go. It's like, well, we're going to do it anyway. Turn on a camera, let other people join in should they wish.
Yeah. If anyone else would like to ask questions or hypothesize wildly
Yeah.
about anything, like why would we stop it at
Well, I
why
used
would we stop
to
here?
when I used to run tours, I'd be like, if you have questions, please feel free to ask. But if they're not about the tour, I cannot guarantee a good answer. But I'll give it a whirl.
I would say I can't guarantee an answer, but I will. No, I can't guarantee a correct answer. But I could guarantee an answer because I won't shut up.
I I had less people call me out on that whenever I said it than I'd expected people to. But sometimes
But sometimes.
they were like, "What do you think about this?" I was like, "Okay."
That happens in my therapy sessions.
To be fair, these were ghost tours, so some of the regular questions were still okay.
I've had clients ask me like how to start a revolution, and I was like, okay, so let's
Step one,
step one. Let's go through this.
manifesto.
Oh yes, we got work to do. I can work with you on this, but only for some sessions. We can't do this all the time because there's legal limits.
I had a lady on the very first tour I ran solo. Wasn't a ghost tour; it was a crime tour through the city. But she proceeded to talk to me at length about how the crystal she wore was to ward off ghosts because she had inherited from her grandma the ability to perceive ghosts. And so she would found herself waking up at night and there'd be a spirit near her bed, like reaching out to her. But then she was like, and they'd be like, help. And I was like, wait, hold up. Hold up. Spirits came to you because you could perceive them and you have this gift for help. And you went, fuck no, and got a magic amulet so they couldn't come near you.
Yeah,
That's what this is what you tell, this is how you greet people. You're like,
that
you're
makes
the
sense to
worst
me.
ghost whisperer.
That's how I would
Ah.
do it. That's absolutely how I would do it.
I mean, to be fair, it's a lot of extra stress and not a lot of money.
Exactly. And speaking of ghosts,
As opposed to speaking of a lot of stress and not a lot of money.
yeah, well, also that, like, just talking about, just like to turn that around, one of the hypotheses I have had is that, like, Alexandria is a watcher. For, from Pillars of Eternity.
Right. Yes. Sorry.
my-
I
that's
went
my
to
hypothesis.
I went to Buffy Vampire Slayer.
Oh, no, no. That's Chevalier.
Yeah, I was like,
Come on, that's Chevalier.
I mean, like,
She's
if
Buffy.
you want. Yeah, I was like, I don't think
Just
this is
like,
how that works. No, from Pillars of Eternity.
yeah,
Yes. Oh,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Oh,
Oh, she's just collecting. She's picking them. She's being like, oh, look, you have time energy. You got a clock, my friend. It is running down. You should probably do something about that. Come on, let's go. But nobody has told her.
yeah, it's the big reveal when you actually get to the song. It's like, so job opportunity pro. But
But that's not even what's happening though. it's it's just like, okay, I'm just gonna let you perceive whatever you want to perceive. Just go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Over time. And I kind of imagine Alexandre at some point just being like, you wanted me to do what? Why didn't you tell me before I left home? Like, you didn't say, why didn't you say, you don't say a damn thing. And now I'm here. I could have been in bed this whole time. You have wasted
could have
6 months
told
of
you.
my life.
Could have just told you no from.
Everyone else uses just a letter. And you use indistinct music.
I do like as we've progressed, the theories of what is the song and what is it after have sort of skewed. No, I don't know if negative's the correct term. More dire, maybe, might be the.
I feel like that is
There's a degree of like, to play devil's advocate is a process of being like, but what if the song is good? And you're like, and it's just, but the further we go, we're like, yeah, but
we start.
if it
Yeah,
is, it's shady.
it's annoying because at first, Alexandre and me, both of us were like, no, it must be good. Must be good. Has to be good. Has to be good. Right? Must be. No other option. Must be good. It's not, is it? It's not good.
There wasn't like
I don't know.
much early on when Spider and chatting with Chevalier being like, so the song, you trust it? And Chevalier's just like, no,
No.
no. I have never met or heard the song. How would I trust a person I've never met or heard? But their choice in person is pretty good. So for now,
But so about that though, because their choice in person is good. Except that their choice in person seems to result in them getting rejected. So,
well,
what do you, it's like, yeah, you choose good people. I like the people you choose. Except the first one brought me back to life, so I'm gonna like that person that you chose. And the second person is 18 and has no understanding, but also I partially helped raise that one. So yeah, I'm gonna like the people that you chose.
but he was very like thought highly of both Elena and Alexandra's capability as people. So he was very confident in Alexandra's ability to rise to the occasion, and he was also a big proponent of, should the correct answer be no, then that's okay. Like, that might be the right answer for the situation. But then that was his whole shtick.
But then,
Correct decision in the moment with the information you have.
yeah, absolutely. But say you say we get there. Alexandra's presented with this concept, this idea. She has to either approve or deny it at the team meeting. And she says no. This is the second time it's been a no. What happens? Does the song go, "Oh, I'll be back in a couple generations"?
Say hi to your kids for me.
Say hi to your kids. I'll be back in a couple.
Yeah. You wait. You wait.
You wait 100 years, I'll be back. Like, what? What happens? Like, what do you... Someone said no. The next person says no. Do you just keep hunting around and keep getting no? Or do you, like, change something? Like, did something change? Did something change? Did something change? That is
What
now a
if-
question. Did
what
something
if-
change?
What if, like, no is the correct answer, though?
So there's only one answer, it's no, and the song
No,
actually needs you to say no.
Like, for whatever reason,
Yeah.
like, given that we have now reintroduced the idea of pacts with powerful beings, not reintroduced, I mean, but this idea of the crone, how you're making a deal, there is a payment.
Yeah.
If the song it's clearly a powerful, potentially on a similar level to the gods of the world, but potentially it got that way by making some kind of deal.
Yeah.
And potentially that deal is kind of like there's some kind of like checks and balances.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like someone has to come in, like you can pick the person, but they have to come up.
Yep.
And they get to make the call of like, and it's like, should we take these powers? No. You're like, cool, thank you. See you in 50 years. And it's just like there's there's been this thing where it's
Right.
like no is the answer the song wants, essentially.
So it's kind of like that Doctor Who episode with like Queen Elizabeth, how she just keeps resetting stuff.
Yes,
She gets to the
which-
end every time.
Given that was something I think I saved a section of that episode for Mysel and Hio. That like, I mean, I don't remember. I talked about how for Chevalier it was Peter Capaldi's final speech was resonated very well for Chevalier, but in that one it's the, this ancient, being that is completely alone, and all of the loneliness just made it kind, and it can't say no, can't bear to hear the children cry. And I went, so that's my dragon, thank you. And then the whole point of that is like, how did you know? And she's just like, to the doctor's like, because, and I went, oh, they're the doctor and the companion, that's who these people are. And then like over a millennia ago they got turned into one person, and they're kind of just dealing with that right now. And I was like, I get it, okay.
And that, like...
Also interesting that we have the whole like time thing, how Lucas seems to have arranged to give Jasper more time,
We assume more time.
potentially.
Well, more time or just like some life? Here, have life.
Yeah, but it felt like time manipulation
Yes.
to Mysel.
Yes.
But that, in the meta context, this is something that Drew came up with
Yes.
at the beginning of the game.
At the beginning of the game, and now here we are with
Like
two.
we talked about this. You and I literally did a game on a different channel where deals with
Yes.
hags were a very big part of that game and a terrible idea.
It
That we
had
did
to happen.
repeatedly.
Yes. Oh, yes. Multiply.
But that was also after we had started Unlawful Disorder. So that had happened before. Drew had done this before even that.
Even before that.
And
So
then
it existed. Yeah.
And then, before that reveal happens, before any of us, none of us, like, Jamie didn't know. Obviously you and I didn't know. Before all that stuff, I've gone and rocked up with this character that I thought, this will be a bit of fun.
Yeah, this will be new.
This will be a nice little twist. This will be. This is definitely something that I was just like, hey, that very first listed feat in this game is kind of bonkers. I wonder what I can do, what kind of nonsense I can do with that. And it just kind of ties in. What?
I don't like that. I don't
Which-
like. I don't like it. I don't. I don't know if it's Michelle. I don't know if it's you. I don't like the sort of neatness. I
it's
don't.
kind
We've
of
talked about this also, but I don't like the neatness.
it's sort of like it could just be Michelle being just pulling the strings really well behind the scenes, like.
But that's maniacal.
But on the other side, like I also know that when I was like, here's his character idea, he went, I'm sorry, what?
So that's either an "I'm sorry, what" in a "wait, you're ruining my game" or an "I'm sorry, what." This ties in so well.
Admittedly, the first version of the character got vetoed, but that was probably for other reasons.
I I just how how have we ended up? I don't know. What are we? What is it? May? We're almost 2 years into a campaign. How are we introducing new mechanics now? We can't be introducing new mechanics. What?
But they're not
What?
even. They're not. It's the Tolman thing. It's not new. It was always there, but we've only now just seen it.
What do you mean?
Which, so, casting our minds back.
Yes.
Which, this has also suddenly just occurred to me.
Yeah.
So the whole thing with Tolman was this irritating noble, this pompous douchebag, and then just as we're being like, all right, tomorrow we're taking this guy in,
Yep.
and then you're like, hey, because we're back in D&D
Yeah.
time, I can send magic
You got any magic? You got
for
anything?
free.
For free?
I'm a do that.
Give me the give me it.
And it's like, oh yeah, magic earring. And we go, take that. And suddenly it turns out he's not an annoying douchebag. She is a psychotic murderer. And we're like, oh, that's, and apparently a lot more dangerous than we'd realized. And we're like, also was like hiding a bunch of weapons that we just hadn't seen. We're like, this is fortunate. But it's kind of that thing. It was always there. You're only just now seeing it. But it also occurs to me, because there's been other times where Alexandre has looked for magic and it hasn't picked up on Jasper.
How so? Where? Which? When did what?
Like, I mean, literally just and in that moment as well. You detected magic. Saw
Yeah, but
Coleman's
like,
thing.
there's a difference between detecting magic and detecting extra, like,
That's what I was saying. It's like, this is not just your run-of-the-mill,
yeah,
I've cast some spell, here is some magic that will do something pretty neat, but
yeah,
you don't have this like residual magic-y glow
yeah,
left over. It's like, no, and it's like a combination of, it was a while ago, but also feels like, when we start talking about like the old magic. Like,
oh
this
yes.
so I think when like I was describing Meisel's thing, it was like, a spell crafted from forgotten magics, I think was the...
Oh, good. Why did you
Was-
describe it? See, the problem is, anything and everything in our backstories is fair game, including
Yeah.
the way they're phrased.
Yeah.
It's been 2 years, and I barely remember what happened last week.
I don't write stuff down. You've literally just started a new notebook. At that same point, I turned the page in my exercise pad.
Sam. The number of times we argue about things, and I'm like, no, because I made a note about it. I noted, I remember this sensation. I remember something happening. I'll pull up the where it happened, because I know that it happened somewhere in... There was a point, hang on. And you're like, nah. Nah.
Of course, then everybody's like, no, here it is. I'm like, oh, cool. Then that just means I'm wrong. That's fine. That is also an acceptable outcome to this conversation.
Yeah.
Be very... It's like, I always, I can't be this like laissez-faire with what's going on, and also not reserve that sort of mental space. Be like, you might just be utterly wrong. Like,
Yep.
Yep.
Yup.
That's okay.
But, but it's not. It's not. I'm a scientist. It's not okay. You can't just throw around facts like that. You got to throw around facts like other ways. I don't know.
You're doing
You're
facts
doing
wrong.
facts wrong. Your facts. You do the facts wrong. You got to do the facts right, especially when they're fictional worlds.
I mean, yeah, that's you're not wrong, obviously, particularly when it can cause, you know, if you have like different interpretations or something. There's a moment of like, oh wait, no, I thought, oh okay, sorry, I thought I was in the other room. God, oh wow.
It it really can be. Hey, Laz. Here and sleepy.
Oh,
We good. We're just spending the evening hypothesizing wildly about the game thus far. That is what we're doing this evening. And currently talking about how you can write a backstory 2 years ago and it can still be used against you. And I'm scared because I'm sure I have my backstory and I can pull it up, but I'm scared of what might be in it. I don't
so
want
let's
to know.
go back and read it and go. I wrote what? Oh,
She,
damn
huh?
it.
She, huh? Who did this? To my, actually, I skimmed it the other day and was like, that's not her at all. That's her before she met Chevalier. Those are the pre-Chevalier days. That's what that
Oh.
is.
Yeah, pre-Chevalier Alexandre was very different, but also pre-Alexandre Chevalier was very different.
Yeah. We both had, like, basically comic characters.
Wasn't yours gonna be more
She was gonna be suave, sassy,
like
like
you're
assassin.
basically making like a femme fatale, and I
Yeah.
was making a comedic relief murder bot.
Yeah.
And then we sort of were like, but you know, they've known each other their entire lives, and then
Yeah.
it was like, hang on, did you just give my femme fatale a reliable friend to be vulnerable to?
Oh no.
And I was like, did you just give me a tiny child to be responsible for?
Ah, shit.
Ah,
And so we broke
Yeah.
the characters.
so I became the bodyguard from Princess Diaries as played by Vision.
And I became the princess from Princess.
As played by. Yeah, it's just that. It's. Oh, God.
Oh my goodness. What? How do you. So, okay. We've got. Oh, but time travel.
We don't know if it's time travel. Like, time travel, obviously,
And can we
it's time
can we pass this out a little bit?
manipulation.
Time manipulation. Does that mean one can travel through time? And then you've got all of the fun.
Potentially, but not necessarily.
But then you've got all the fun laws, right? The laws of like, if if you can travel through time, can you only travel forward from like where time travel is learned about? Or can you go to anywhere in that time? And something that's been really interesting to me has been trying to figure out why it is that Mysel and Heo don't know the song. Like, you would know of it. It's a powerful entity. How would you not know about it?
I mean, did anyone know? Like, outside of your family, and the people associated with your family, has anyone known the song?
No. However,
There have been people who have appeared to have been potentially influenced by the song,
Yes.
but they weren't aware that that was happening.
but also it's the song of the world. I would be surprised if no one knew about it. I'm confused as to why we have come across no one who knows about it.
Yeah. I mean, there is the meta reason where it was like one of Michelle's potential issues of having, it's like your character's over is like decently over 1,000 years old. You know, that's potentially like in terms of like possibility to break the plot. I just basically went, yeah, I don't care about that. So if it's bad for me to know it, I don't know it. If it's useful for me to know it, I'll know it. And if it's in between, we'll roll. No. So it's like maybe there are like pockets of people, like there's like organized worship of the song, and just Maisel and Hio weren't there for that.
But I also don't. I don't think it's that. I don't think it's like pockets thereof and people who worship. I don't know. Alexandria and I kind of blend in the sense that it doesn't seem like the song wants that.
Yeah.
It doesn't like it. She's not penalized for not proselytizing.
It's not.
She's just.
It seems to be on par with like divine beings, but it is not itself like, I am a god, you need to worship me.
Yeah. I mean, we don't know if the gods in this world necessarily want that.
Yeah.
Because that sounds like a lot of mail. I only think of Bruce Almighty in this. Like, I just think of the amount, and I know how much paperwork I get. If someone started sending me all of their prayers, my goodness.
I always get like it's been used a lot, but I first had in the idea in like Pratchett with small gods, where it's like the amount of belief in a god equates to its power. So if a god is not believed in, it becomes it just becomes very weak, and potentially it could become almost completely forgotten.
It's like the fairy thing. But then
song isn't actively trying to get believers, so I feel like that's at least its deal.
It doesn't need that. Either it doesn't need it, or there is a lot of belief power in one Donadieu every couple of generations.
Yeah, it's just like like why Alexandre? She believes.
Oh my goodness. What if it just is? Oh my no.
It also could be like the song doesn't want to like if we assume for sake of argument that Genevieve, who we assume is, or at least at some point was, a follower of the Mistress of Slaughter or whatever. I can't remember their names.
That's the right one, I think.
But is after the power that, but both after the Praetorian, but also at one point was after the power that Alexandria possesses.
Yeah.
It could be that like the song is like, I can't be too loud. If a bunch of people start believing me and I become too noticeable, everyone else, I can't get to the point where I would be able to defend myself against everyone else's attention quick enough for that to ever be a good idea. So it has to just be this one person. That's all I can spare.
In that case, what's the deal with Ramiki? Singing about the song of the world and then going out there and the song being like, hey.
That's because that in this scenario, Ramiki didn't believe in the song. She wasn't even aware of it.
But she shared the information.
Sure, but it can't. That would be to prevent it from being forgotten. So if it's actually forgotten, it goes away.
Except that it had such an immediate effect. When she did her performance, and the performance, like, she was singing as the song of the world. Like, that was essentially that's how she was singing from the position of literally the song. And everyone's like, oh yeah, I say revolution.
Yeah, that is.
So either it wants to be believed in, or it is trying to remind people, oh, by the way, you don't have to do this thing.
Because she didn't even have magic. Like, she didn't feel like she had magic.
She said she did not have magic. She is not a magical being. She
Yeah.
just happened to look as though stereotypically based on Evanel's that she did. Yeah. Yeah. I like that.
You find the
We
song.
find
It's like it's a dude in a booth being like, "Thank you. Oh God, I've been here so long.
there's a nugget of truth behind the smoke. That
I need an intern." Like, ooh, no, I'm sorry.
I need an intern.
I haven't had a vacation in so long.
Just to note, you didn't pay me. I paid you in magic that I used for you.
Gave you skills and connections.
I put me in a very sheltered but loving household, and then you said, leave it. Get out.
It's not my fault. It came from a stable home.
Came from a stable, happy home.
Did you see how much emotional trauma I tried to cause to your grandma?
Mm-hmm.
That bitch rebounded. Gah.
Not only that, but you tried to do the same damn thing to, like, my rival. Look how that turned out. Now we're gonna get rid of this time magic that shuts you the fuck up.
Yeah. In fact, there's a bunch of stuff that makes the song go, nope. And like, but not. I'd say not consistently, but there's points where it is consistent. It's just not the same. Different things affect it differently, but they are seemingly affecting it consistently.
Yes.
In the same way. Within
Uh,
themselves.
they are the same. They're the same. The same thing affects the song every time.
But there are different effects from different
But there are
things.
different effects from different things, and only there are three different effects, as far as I can tell, as someone who experiences the song firsthand. We've got the time is doing a thing. It's wibbly wobbly, and I don't like it. And it's a harpsichord. We've got Lucas's brass band situation, and we've got the wariness that it had around Mysel, as far as I can remember. Those are the three I can remember.
When it didn't want to go into the temples, was that also wariness, or is that like, I've hit a threshold I can't pass?
It was described from memory. It was described as, I'll just wait out here. So it's still around, just outside. It just didn't come in.
Yeah, I'm somewhat relieved to hear that it didn't have a similar reaction to Mysol as it did to the temples.
I'll just wait outside.
Yes, it's like you when you're done with the kid, I just no.
What? Repeat that for me. What?
It's David being, it's more the song going, that kid's weird, rather than like with the temples being like, I'll just be here, you go ahead. But if it was like, I'm gonna go talk to the kid, and then the song goes, cool, I'll stay here, I'd be
I
like,
see.
I don't like that.
I don't.
I
I've
don't-
got
so,
a problem.
there's so many implications of what that would mean, and I don't want to unpick any of it. So
And there
I'm
are
glad
so
that's
many-
not one the thing.
Yeah, and there are so like creepy kid is creepy. Like, what are you gonna do?
It's creepy.
He's creepy. Like, how am I supposed to? How do you reconcile? Because at this point now, it's like the song's like, hey, you should be really careful about that one. And you're like, okay, cool, I'll be careful. What am I being careful about though? Is it the fact that he's a fucking dragon? Is it the fact that time has been messed with? Is it the fact that he can read my mind and therefore might be able to read you?
It's that thing where, we have the thing where it's like when you asked the song, can you do what they need, and the song's like no, and you were like, what if it's no because like Alexandra is going to have to do it?
Yeah.
So what if this is a situation where it's like, okay, here's this baby calf, in a little bit you're going to have to eat it. So don't give it a name. It was like, you're going to have to do something to that kid that isn't going to come back. He's not coming back from, so you might not want to bond.
Meanwhile, Alexandre is like...
At which point, Mysel takes your hand and grins. I'm going to ruin your day.
It really is like that, though. It's not fair. There's a whole list of things that Alexandre is like, I really don't want to have to do this. There's a shorter list of things Alexandre is like, I absolutely will not do this. It's significantly shorter.
That list has changed over this.
Oh, no, time. No. Well, it's a significantly short... No, because I think it's changed, but in a different way. When we started the campaign, she'd have done anything. She wouldn't have thought about it. She wouldn't have questioned it. She'd have just been like, okay, cool. Because, my grandmother failed to do the thing, so I'm here to do the thing. Let's do the thing. Done. Great. I did it. I don't know I don't have any understanding of what that means, but I did the thing that I'm here to do. Now it's if you're lucky, KJ, you might get through it today without sobbing. Who knows? I can't guarantee a thing. I can't guarantee a damn thing. I'm so sorry.
Probably, but also.
So
it occurs to me that in the past 2 years of real time, in-game time, it's been a month and a half.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Which I kind of adore, but at the same time,
I love that because there are times for me where days feel like they have been, months. So I can understand that would happen. But yeah, I think at this point, Alexandre would do most things. She would... it's a very small list of things that she absolutely wouldn't do.
She's definitely questioning the song more.
The
but
difference...
then again, you've gone from 0 to an amount.
Yes. There is an amount. But the only reason that amount exists now is because she perceives there could be the potential for it. Whereas before she wouldn't have even considered that it would be asked of her. Which says a lot about...
It's a degree of I'll do anything. And it's you haven't thought that through.
Mm-hmm. And now she's thought it through.
That's a lot of things.
I'll do most things. I'll do
Loaf playing in the background.
Just hold up the price list.
Do anything for a song, but I won't do that.
But I the basic things are all for her not fine, but with qualification fine. The things that people probably would think, no, she absolutely wouldn't do that. She probably would if she has a good enough reason to do it. And that's...
Well, that was the whole conversation with Chevalier. It's what is it like to kill someone?
Yeah.
And he's like, whoa, we're going to have a talk.
Come, let's sit down and talk about this.
Just looks down at this tiny child okay.
Tiny child. You keep saying tiny child, and I understand that this is my size in comparison to you. I understand that I am a unit of Shauntelle.
Aren't you taller than Alexandre?
By
from memory.
By an inch or two at most.
Sure. And
I'm 5'2". She's 5'1" or 5.
Chevalier was a foot taller than me.
I feel like tiny is still.
But it's still like you ask a question, he has to go.
I see. Yeah. I mean, he's already hunched to begin with.
Yeah. He's 7 foot hunched.
7 foot hunched. It's not like. So, but do you think? Okay, here's a question. Chevalier from the grave. the grave.
He's not dead. You're told. You're told he's not
Chevalier.
dead.
I am convinced now that Chevalier.
A dragon told you he wasn't dead.
A dragon told me he wasn't dead. I am convinced that he is in the past or the future, or that he came from the past or the future and has now gone back there. Convinced that he can't be killed because he lives in literally a different time, and therefore, if he dies, he just goes to that time and waits for people to come across him again.
I feel like part of me is like, because when he died, like he just basically dissolved in front of. It's like that's such a rude way to time travel. Don't do that. Don't just dissolve in front of people.
It's just can we not friends don't dissolve in front of friends. Friends don't dissolve in front of friends. It's not nice. Please don't dissolve in front of your friends. They don't want it.
I almost, and by almost I meant I considered it and then just didn't get around to it.
Dissolving?
Thought of like writing that moment from Chevalier's perspective.
I want you to. Can you actually?
And I was basically just like.
Can you just narrate it?
It's
just for KJ, purely for KJ.
It's just like but I think at the time I was like, I have to write a letter that's already going to be rough to do. I don't want to do that twice.
Oh, actually, yeah, that would hurt me too. Maybe don't do that to KJ.
I was just like, no, I made a promise to write a letter when I thought it wouldn't happen, and now. All that whole discussion of like, what if he dies, was when he locked himself in the room with the Velvet Dran and was like, Sam knows that was dumb. I'm gonna have a quick chat with Michelle about, what might happen. And he was like, yeah, it's all fine. I'm like, fantastic, thank you very much. And then we just blitzed that thing. And I was like, oh, we're fine. And I let my guard down.
Alexandre was so mad. So angry. So angry. Like
I mean,
like
there was a legitimate talk that you and I had about like the rise of Dark Alexandre from this.
Very specific. We've had this talk a couple of times over the years.
That sickle is still kicking around. We've not talked about it, but it's there.
It's that I Chauntelle have it permanently. So before every session, I write the things that I actually kind of, if there is space, I want to fit in to discuss, that I want to talk about. The ticking of Spider has been one of them, very consistently. I just keep like things that, because I forget. So I'm just
you add it onto the list, but then stuff happens. And you're like, well, actually, we're going to deal with that first. Oh,
yeah.
Well, hang on, we're going to deal with that first.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's the same. It's how I plan therapy sessions. Funnily enough, like I will write down the things that I know I need to come back to, and then I'll whatever someone else comes in with is what we deal with first, because I don't have the space to do it, because we need to deal with what they're dealing with at the time as well. So it's like, all right, finally I get around to asking about the ticking, but I also want to ask Mysel what he sees when he looks at the sickle. I want to know that.
Oh, I can't imagine it's good.
But we don't know.
It just shows this child, he starts vomiting. It's like, oh.
Can you not see that, please? Ew.
Oh, God.
Ew.
Like,
see it over there. See it over there.
He eats so much. Why would you do this?
Oh, no, it's a rat. You and your collection of assorted rats. I don't know. I don't like it.
It was very clearly not a rat. It just appeared to. That's more like in the dark. You're like, I'm going to assume that's a rat and not look or ask more questions.
We were in a room. A well-lit room. Alexandra just expects to see a rat, so there's a rat.
I'm highly amused that this child can at any moment feed 6 people. Just like...
Doesn't have to be good food, though.
I'm going to be... I just imagine him grazing.
And this is how he keeps her fed.
Yeah, I definitely didn't put any consideration into what that deal would be, but it's just sort of like, I don't want it to be an issue because I don't want to be bothered with it, so it's not an issue.
Do you think it's a pocket dimension?
I think of it like they because it was sort of like it was their one thing, two things, and nothing all at the same time. Which every time I say it, I have to force myself not to say one thing, two things, no thing. And I think early on that initial, it was kind of like I think it's like Watchmen when it was like what's Dr. Manhattan talks about like regaining physical form. He had to like.
Oh yes.
That was an active thing he had to do.
Yeah,
he had to actively get. And then he does it again. It's like that was the first trick I learned.
Yeah.
It was kind of like that was the first trick they learned was like regaining physical form. But then they were like, we can only do one at a time. We can't be both. And so they have to alternate.
What?
But like where they go is very nebulous.
If Alexandre built another body, for my soul, could we separate them? Like cutting up?
You have to like while they're transforming.
Yeah, you
have to like reach in as Hio's coming out. You have to somehow reach in and just drag my soul back out as well.
Oh, that sounds gross.
And then just like somehow put him in this other body. I can only imagine. So the first thing that comes to mind is splitting an atom.
Yeah, just put my soul into Chevalier's soul, then put the soul and my soul into a body, and
unless the
snap.
Souls, sure, wouldn't if we're assuming that's his soul, surely he's using it.
I'm sure there's space for more.
Yeah, I mean Benno's probably
Alexandra
in there
should
as well.
use that as a keepsake box and just
put souls in it.
We've already talked about the idea that she's a watcher. It would work.
It's like I gotta store this crap somewhere. Hang on.
Where am I gonna put? I need to put my soul somewhere.
This spirit of Chevalier is like,
storage.
what do you? I don't need a housemate. What do you? No.
Where do you? Walks up to a vendor. Excuse me, sir. Where do you put your spare souls?
Right here. The what?
Where do you put them? I have extras.
Is it worse if they like go, oh no, I have an answer for that?
No, that is worse. Yeah. Actually, no, that is worse.
They just immediately go, oh, I use one of these.
There are, yeah. Actually, you're right. No, there are questions I don't need to ask because the answer is more horrifying potentially.
Just like the opening of Aladdin. It cooks, it cleans, it holds your soul, will not break. Ah, it broke. Ooh, shit. Oh, I needed that.
Oh no. I think I'm having an existential crisis now. I think that's where we've. I think that's today's activity. Is just.
Yeah. And the best part with this as advertised being just wild speculation is not. It's like it's sort of it's all like this is what we know. So what if this is the explanation? And then sort of running off from that. And it's like that'd be oh god, okay, but what about this? Well then that means no. So every now and again, you need to get that break in. It's like, what if the song is just benevolent and nice, but can't do things because of reasons, and it's all fine.
I'm still not okay with that though, because why is it capable then of giving someone else power to do things?
Bureaucratic red tape.
At which point is it like, hey,
Have to outsource.
here's $50, run to the store for me? Like, that's essentially what that becomes. Isn't it?
Yeah, it's literally like Elena rocks up, like, okay, what did you need? It's like, yeah, so I lost my robot. Thank you for picking him up on the way. Can I have him back now? And Elena's just like, no, he's mine.
No, absolutely not.
And so he's like, oh shit, all right.
No, but now he's got him back.
Like, and then, but then it's like, then in the next one, it's like, well, Maria's not gonna bring Chevalier. Ugh.
I mean, I feel like she would have though. She doesn't like him, so she would be like, okay, we can go. We're taking him out to the forest, and we'll just leave him there.
That's the thing. Like, she'd be like, yeah, here you go. But like, she wouldn't bring him in the first place. She'd be like, I have other bodyguards I can use.
No, what I mean is, she would take him because it's like taking Old Yeller.
Oh. I don't think she just likes him that much.
No, and Elena would get so mad.
Oh.
And Alexandria would get so mad. That would be the fracture of the family.
That story that includes. I went back and read it. I guess for context, after the Fisher celebration.
Read what?
The story I wrote about the flashbacks that Chevalier was having as he was thinking.
You should tell us about those because nobody will understand them otherwise. You're about to speak about something that has context.
Well, I was going to talk about the middle one.
Yeah.
But like, it's sort of like I had like 2 ideas for a flashback at the time, and I was like, no, but rule of threes. And then my brain went, okay, here's a third, and I went, ah.
That means I have to write it.
But then I realized that I wasn't doing a short story. I was writing 3 short stories with like connecting tissue between them, and I went, there's so much. And so it's actually currently like 2.5. But the middle one was Maria as a teenager having a row with Elena and Chevalier overhearing, which upon rereading, I change, what's the term? Perspective. So like all the other ones are written from like, it's like third person from Chevalier's perspective. And then that middle one was third person omniscient.
Right.
Which it's like on the one hand it's fine, but at the same time it's just like, part of me is just like,
there are times.
It's like, I could rewrite it, and it's just Chevalier sitting outside the room, hearing it through a wall, and it's not going to be as good, but it'd be fit, it'd be neat, it'd be nice. And then I went, I'm not going to do that.
No.
That's too much work.
That makes sense to me. There are times that I'll write Alexandria from I mean, most of the time it is.
It's more that it was within the one story, within the one piece of writing. And also, I have often had problems with like just changing tense without realizing I've done it.
Right.
So that it felt kind of like that. But the point being that part of the row was Maria like insulting Chevalier essentially. But then having that that moment of like when you're having an argument with your parent and you realize, oh, I've crossed the line.
Yep.
Oh, and it's like it just rips the wind out of your sails. You're like, oh no, I got angry and I said a dumb thing that I don't even.
I'm gonna get.
Oh, it's gonna get so much worse. Damn it! And it's like that was her moment when she's like, just you know. But it was all about that. She was mostly trying to justify her family's position, which Elena was just like, I don't fucking care. Do what I want.
Yeah.
But I think, and the overall point was, it's not that Maria like particularly hates Chevalier.
No.
She might be a bit uncomfortable with him because he's artificial.
Yeah.
And she's just like, it's a bit too uncanny valley for her.
Yeah.
But it's more that like, I think Chevalier is like, it's like, there's people who don't like you, but they can't attack you because you're you and you'll just wreck them if they do that.
Mm-hmm.
But your daughter, and it's like, and if they're going to go after your daughter, what do you think the easiest target is?
Yep.
And it's just like, this guy. And so it's that he is the thing that is like shoved in her face.
Yep.
When she's like, my family is valid and deserve this position, and they just go, Chevalier, you're wrong.
Yes.
And that's what she's had her entire life. And that's where that comes from, where she's just like, I can't. You represent everything I work against.
I did everything I could to fit in, and look at you. You exist.
Yeah. Whereas I think Chevalier's thing was like, when asked, how do you have all this information? And he's just like, oh, your husband asked me to keep an eye on her in case someone, took it too far. And then she was like, have they? And he's went, not twice. just left it. They were like, yep, cool. Mm-hmm. I approve of this message.
Kind of is that way.
It will be interesting because I think because Michelle said that there's definitely a reason that Maria didn't, or if she did, was quickly like.
Yeah.
No. So if that reveal, I guess, will be potentially enlightening, at least, as to what.
Potentially.
Well, it's like
potentially enlightening.
In terms of like, when it comes to speculating, the thing we have like probably the least amount of information on is what the song actually wants. So if we know why it didn't choose or quickly left Maria, it's like that sheds light on what it actually needs to have happen if we know why not her.
Yeah. And I feel like that would answer many a question if we knew that. I feel like it would answer a lot of questions, not just one. I feel like it would answer a lot of questions. But I also like, when you're missing a key component of information, it's just one, and it's just like linking text, and you don't know if it's an and or an or a but. Like there's a conditional somewhere, and I do not have it.
Yeah.
And I want it. Because, something that I've not really asked is why Elena?
Yeah.
Like, where did this start? Like, why Genevieve?
Assuming she was picked.
Assuming she was picked. But even if she wasn't, why her to be what is it about her that ended up catching on to what it was about the song that meant how did she end up these things?
Interesting when we talk about like where does the time manipulation go, like what are the extents, what are the rules, quotation marks of the main. So there's really like 3 examples of it that we know about that time has been mucked with, and all of them had to do with lifespan, either adding to, so Genevieve is over 100 whatever years old.
Yes.
And
which is it over 100 or over 200? Because I think I got the number wrong. When was the war? Was it 100 or 200 years ago? Because she's half elf. She should be able to live that long. I'm fairly sure half elves live longer.
But I don't think they continue to look like she does.
No. But what's the lifespan of an elf in Lanogiianes? That's my question.
Oh goodness. Okay. Yeah, no, much longer.
Yeah.
Closer
I got that
to
number wrong.
300.
300. There we go. I knew it was weird. I was like, this seems
we
odd.
are currently in the year 217. I think Emmy is modern era.
Yep.
The Great War was negative 100 modern era to like around negative 100, negative 90.
So we've got a 300-year-old creature, entity.
But she was like an adult, wasn't she, during at that point? So
Who was the lady of a manor in the
Deliverance, was it?
the Deliverance. So the good peoples. We are not the good ones.
We're the neutral ones.
We're the neutral ones. We are neutral.
Have we clarified that? That was a world building thing early on.
A world building thing. We are
that because again, starting with D&D.
Yes.
That the three places in very broad terms, one was lawful good, one was lawful neutral, one was lawful evil, and that the thing we were told, would be starting in the lawful neutral.
Yes.
Place, which is the Confederacy.
Yes. So we are the neutrals. We've got the evils and the goods.
It's kind of like, we're neutral. What is Burning Lash like?
Oh, right? I'm like, hey, let's go there and have a look. Just to drive. We're not gonna stop. We don't stop. You don't stop somewhere evil. You just drive through. Just drive through.
You just drive through. Everyone lock the doors, wind up the windows. But
yeah, wind up the windows.
Take note.
But like, we're gonna just drive through. We're not staying.
I imagine if you actually just went through Burning Lash, it'd probably look real nice.
It would look so pretty.
Like the parts that you're allowed to see.
Yeah. Oh no.
Real nice.
I think the whole thing would look real nice.
And then every again, if you go off the beaten track, you're like, what the?
No, I think the whole thing would look real nice. Why? Because like, they can afford to make it look good. Laz, that's true evil. Driving through McDonald's with kids and only ordering coffee for yourself.
Wow.
That's not even fries. Just the coffee. Just the coffee.
But I also suspect if you actually go to Deliverance, it's like once you crack the veneer.
Oh, but yeah,
like,
isn't that to me that is how good works.
It's also sort of like depends how extreme they take it.
It depends, and it depends on who is giving them the label. If the label is a meta label, then it's not. Then they will actually just be good. And if the label is not a meta label and that's how they are broadly defined by people in the world, then I would expect it to be in fact reversed, and the Burning Lash would be the good place and Deliverance of the Dawn would be the bad place. That would be that's kind of how that's how the world has been put to me. That's my assumption now.
We're turning this around. We're going to go check these two other continents. Mm-hmm. Parts of the continent. It's all one continent.
Yeah, it's all one continent. If you have a phone and you're on a computer, you can head to the QR code that is on the overlay, and it will take you to the maps on the World Anvil site, which is cool. Very cool. Michelle built them all. They are amazing.
Yes. But she's from the Deliverance. She's from the Deliverance. She is 300 plus years old.
300 plus years old. And they tried to entirely remove her and everything that was her from the planet because she was so bad 300 years ago.
But she got better.
But then she got she came down with a bit of a cold, and then she was fine, and she had amazing calves. It's almost like the dying made her better.
Well, it depends, because if if the time manipulation only is extending life, then yeah, she's extended her life and she hasn't died. If it's traveling through time, she escaped by just leaping
Or
forward.
we go to that hypothesis that I had early in the week, which is still my favorite. Still my favorite, where she pops through at the beginning of the campaign, but when she is young, because she has been told, or like a few years earlier, because she's been told, hey, so can you go deal with this situation? She sees Chevalier, she sees Alexandre, she sees Lucas and Spider, and she's like, they're really powerful. But I also like that thing that Magic Kid did. I'm going to come back and get me some of that, because I want it for me. I'm done working for you. I am no longer an acolyte. Bye. So she trains, but she doesn't have to wait. She's like, I'm going to find where in the timeline I can pop through again. But
She
only
Rocky
when I'm
montages through
ready.
time.
Yeah, so she's just waiting and she's just cherry picking, but like it depends on when she gets it done. And so like she's leaving, and I'm going back to Doctor Who. She's leaving those notes like they do in the Manhattan episodes where like
Right, yeah.
they leave notes and then like they leave notes and it gets read in a book. And they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, I'll do the thing." And so someone in the future is and that's where like Mask Dude turns up and he throws a thing and is like, here's the landing strip.
Yeah, I'll
Here,
give you
go for it. Have fun. And then she can just be like, haha, I'm here now. It's like I was here yesterday, because I was. That's still my front running thought.
I don't think this is the case. I really want Mask Dude to be like,
You want him to be separate.
I want him to like, I want everything about him to be like, it looks like, you know, he, she, they, it set things up so that Genofia could arrive. But I want it to be like, no, we're wrong. Like, this mysterious masked stranger is actually helping us, or at very least is hindering people after us. I just like it.
No.
He can be the tuxedo mask to our Sailor Scouts.
I don't think he's helping us.
I don't think he is either. But I want him to be. I want that to be the thing. I don't actually think that's the thing.
I don't.
It just amuses me.
I mean, there's a whole other side of it where we never actually looked into that thing.
I don't think we were able to. Like,
we never looked into like what that
they got away and we were
green
just like,
liquid was. We just never looked into it. So I just kind of assumed it was like gunge from the 90s.
Didn't it go away? Didn't it, like, when the portal went away, it also went away?
I don't. Well, we didn't ask. I don't remember. I
feel
don't
like
remember
we
that.
also were just like, we need to leave.
No, Alexandra did not. Alexandra refused to. Well, she didn't refuse to, but we had Lucas's boyfriend turn up, so
Right.
we were just sitting there. Alexandra and Spider were just sitting there, presumably in the green goo, or potentially in the green goo.
That's why you can now hear ticking.
Wow, I'm not ticking. I
No,
don't
but,
know
like,
if I'm not ticking. I haven't checked.
Because you lingered in the goo, you hear ticking now.
Linger in the goo,
Yeah.
ticking for you.
Yes, let's bring more hag/crone into this story.
So much crone. So much crone.
Like, spoilers if you track down the other show, but in the final episode, I legitimately had tears down my face for the last hour of the final episode of that. And we got rated by like 100 people, and I can only imagine they were very confused.
They would have been so confused.
They rocked up at the
Character
climax of like a 14 episode arc. And we're like, hi, and we went,
You need to put your character art up on... Oh, you know what? You need to put character art up, Sam, on
Oh yeah.
World Anvil.
World Anvil.
However, I can also provide you with
Ooh.
my website, which has some of the art on it. What's up, Sam? What's wrong?
Trying to work out how World Anvil would allow two pieces of character art. I probably have to make separate things.
You can just have extra art on there, I imagine.
Maybe. I completely forgot about that even being a thing, despite knowing I did it for Chevalier.
Oh, if you go to the World Anvil, let me see.
World Anvil definitely has that. At
The World
moment
Anvil
for
has
Alexandre
all
and
of
Spider.
that information. Hang on a second.
I because Lucas and Chevalier aren't around anymore. They've been removed from the character list.
Yes, you need to add in your boys.
Which confused me for a moment because I was going to Chevalier to then go to the World Anvil page. Up until that point, and something I couldn't, so I had to actually find the proper page and then bookmark that. And I was like, I've just not been doing that. Yeah, because you got a bunch of extra art made.
I got a bunch of extra art
You
made.
you caused a stir on Twitter.
I caused a stir on Twitter because who would have thought? Black Elf. Who knew?
Yeah.
Who knew?
You had
Black
Alexandre stands.
Yeah, Alexander Elf Girl stands, I believe they are called.
I'm probably.
Elf Girl. Magical Elf Girl.
To be fair, like also there was also a much more it was a much more glamorous version of it was like it was a version it was Alexandre when she's like full court.
Oh yeah. It's Alexandre when she has access to everything she needs to be Alexandre.
Sort of it was Alexandre on the dock when she was trying to find us a thing, plus like more. But then because that's her when she doesn't have her gear on hand. That's like that's jerry rigged Alexandre. This one was no, we're going to court now.
Yeah. Alexandre works so hard. That you know how Spider's like, oh yeah, you were just born like that. No, I don't. You just I
do like that. Given like his own experience with like makeup and all the rest of that, like he knows what amount of effort it takes. He is 100% aware, but is much more interested in stirring shit and just getting a rise out of Alexandre.
She does so much work. Yes,
like,
Jeans did a lot of the work. She understands that. But to highlight how well the Jeans came out takes a lot of work, you know?
Yeah.
And
I'm just like, there's no way he doesn't appreciate that. But
there's no way he doesn't. He's not aware. There's no way he doesn't know that, and yet.
Yeah. Just like, for so many reasons, he's just like, no, that. Like this is a guy who has like multiple costumes on hand.
Deep in my soul.
Like,
so
didn't he actually basically turn himself into an elf, like this like glamorous elf woman, while we're in Glitter Delta Cove? Was that not not one of the outfits?
I mean, he turned himself into an elf, but not a
Oh, for some reason, I thought he was basically in my head for a moment. I was like, was he like? Did he actually sort of just literally turn himself into like a version of Alexandre? Is that how that happened? Am I misremembering this?
She would not. No, there's no way. She wouldn't. Don't even suggest that because she would not.
Yeah, that was the whole conversation. It was like, I need you to not outshine the client. Oh, what am I doing? And looking then with Rameshi,
Good times.
You need to not outshine the diva.
If
And I was
but
like, I just told a diva not to outshine a diva. What am I doing? What am I doing with my time?
realistically speaking, from Alexander, there is never a way to fault Alexandre's logic because it is always so well thought out. You it's always well thought
I
out.
definitely agree with half of that. Yes.
You can't. You can't. Her logic is flawless, because if you have if you are working for someone and your job is to blend in, you cannot then be like, oh, I'm not going to look good deliberately, because people will be able to tell that you don't look good deliberately. You have to look good deliberately, and if she's good enough, if she can do her job, then she'll outshine you. That's the point. That is how that works.
Wasn't what he was asking, but
flawless logic. Flawless.
was it? Because that was the thing. He wasn't being like, you need to look, don't put effort in. It was like, no, like, just under.
No.
Like that, you have a goal to hit.
No.
You have a thing.
No, that's
like,
not.
Like the kind of thing which like it won't be noticeable except by people who really know what they're doing, which includes you.
No, that's lowering myself and my abilities. I'm not going to denigrate myself. I'm not going to lower myself to that. No. That's like deliberately getting items wrong on the test to make someone else feel better. No.
That wasn't the reason, no.
That's
the thing.
They need to work harder.
Joking aside, it is sort of like her logic is flawless and can't be sort of denied, except she is definitely not taking certain things into consideration. There's a bunch of things where she's like, that's just not something she considered. Chevalier is definitely considering, is using a different criteria. He's using a different set of things that he is making his decision against. And it's like, that's not like, it's like everything you said is correct and fine. It's not what I'm talking about. Is essentially, and he's like, and we don't have time. I can't.
But he understands. Oh, KJ, I'm so sorry. He understands, though. That sucks.
Rough.
Having to leave the stream twice for 20 minutes each time, every stream, and the last time coming back to everyone talking about Spider in the past tense and thinking that he was dead. But he was ticking. He was just ticking, which is the same thing. We don't talk about that.
We had seen a scene from his past.
I think he either already is dead or has been brought back from the dead and therefore could be classed as a zombie.
Detect undead. I cast Detect Undead.
Yes. Tick-tock, indeed. Or cocked kit, if you will. Depending on who you're talking about.
I did like that moment. Kit. It was very good.
I am so discomforted.
I feel like that was part of the point, yes. But
the whole of last session, not all of it. See, I was fine until I asked about the ticking, and then I wasn't fine anymore. It was good. Everything, I was having a great time. We were just making loads of jokes. We were vibing. It was amazing. Everything was good. Why did I ask why Spider was ticking? I could have stayed in blissful ignorance. We could have never unlocked that extra.
The ignorance wasn't blissful. Come on.
But I feel like it's less blissful now.
Was gnawing and like.
The ignorance is less.
Pouring at you.
Yeah. It's still uncomfortable.
I did appreciate the way Alexandre asked as well, in that she essentially asked herself the question out loud.
Yeah.
Without pausing after having talked to Spider. So it was just basically like, for everyone else's perception, it was just like, you're asking Spider this question, and it's like out of the blue. Why do you tick? I'm sorry, what?
Isn't that...
Why do I what now?
Yeah.
I'm going to need more or less information. I'm not sure which one yet.
Alexandria does that a lot.
Yes.
She does that a
Yes.
lot. I'm starting to think that's not an Alexandria thing. I'm starting to think that's a Shauntelle thing. Probably a yes on that one.
The player is showing. Oh, God.
My player. Oh, no. But yeah, it does... It raises questions as to who she's talking to at any given point. But it also raises questions as to who's listening.
Yeah.
I'm ready for her to ask the question and for someone else, somewhere else, to answer the question in the room with them. I'm not ready for that. Michelle, please don't do that. Please. Michelle, if you're watching this, please don't do that.
So just quickly,
I'm scared already.
Check on our viewer list. And, okay.
No, but
so
I'm going to upload the VOD and I don't want that.
Yeah, look, there's going to be a point when Michelle's watching this just taking notes.
No, don't take notes.
It's like, oh yeah, that's
don't
not a bad idea.
Don't take notes, it's scary. You don't need to take notes. There's no need for notes, please.
That's the thing, is like, don't say that. The game master's listening. It's like, I know.
No, that's not Sam, please.
I'm helping.
Who are you helping? Who are you helping?
It's a collaborative narrative, and I'm helping. I'm collaborating and creating narrative. With chaotic energy, I guess. And nonsense.
Chaos. But I feel like, every now and then I do just sort of sneak into Michelle's DMs and be like, hey, guess what we're thinking about at the moment. Like, this is totally what this is the headcanon right now. It's so funny.
I mean, there's definitely stuff, particularly because Drew and Jamie were creating their characters as brothers, and then you and I were creating our characters, having this shared history. There was a few moments where, like, so I've come up with some stuff. Here's, which I think it was like, at one point I was just like, here's the Anvil Heart Company. Here you go. Here are people. It was like, here are people, and then like a month later, it was like, by the way, Aerith is now Alexandre's great aunt. Have fun with that.
Yep.
Like,
oh,
what?
By the way, her middle name is a really long string of names.
Well, that one I asked for. I was like, there will come a day, I don't know when, but it will definitely come, where Chevalier will want to use her entire name, and I will need to know it. That it happened like the next session or something. And I was like, oh, good. All right.
I have not noticed that, KJ. But I also have noticed it. I don't know. I've never, as in, like, I notice it in others. I do not notice it in myself.
Right.
Or I notice it, but I don't consciously notice it. I'm just aware. Like, I'm aware when I'm aware of when I'm looking at a character versus when I'm looking at a player, if that makes sense. Yeah, I know to whom I speak.
Yeah, and there's a degree of like.
Sorry, what was said is, KJ said, one thing that I find really cool is how your faces seem to change when you're in character, and that, yeah.
It's everything in performance in general, but also like even just like this voice acting is like physicality is a thing. Like it's when you watch behind the scenes stuff of people doing voice performances, and they are very physical. Like they're sort of generally planted, but it's still this very sort of like there's a lot of
they have to be. There's so much going on.
Doing stuff for Mysel and Hio. Like I was watching Benedict Cumberbatch doing stuff for Smaug, and like there's bits where there was a bit where he's doing all the mocap work, and he's also doing the voice for the whole thing, and then he gets to the end and goes, good, yes. Do you reckon we could do that again? And they're like, we like that bit, and he goes, no, like from the top. And they're like, yeah, if you want. He's like, cool.
Yeah.
But it's like it's this whole thing. So yeah, when you are trying to get into character, there is like, Chevalier has to be more is more rigid, more mechanical. Mysel is more
Becky.
more childlike, frankly. Like
Becky.
Yeah. But also just I think what did I think in the stuff I sent to Sonia? I was like it was like he was always this like outgoing and happy person, and being de-aged, being a 12-year-old has not improved, has not changed that, or has only made that worse, or something like that. It's like he was an adult that didn't lose that, but now he's a child again. He's just like, it's just
that I find all of this interesting, and I think Sam's beard disappearing when Mysel's talking, yes. Alexandre seeming pointier is interesting to me, because one of the things that I sent to Sonia when she was making Alexandre's art, when she was making Alexandre, I very specifically said, so this is a character that is on the cusp of adulthood. So she's soft. She doesn't talk that way necessarily. She talks like she's an adult, and she talks like she knows more than other people. She doesn't, obviously, based on what actually comes out of her mouth, but she speaks as though she does. That's the point for her. I find that kind of fun.
I went and found what I'd written, so I was like, I wrote that under it as like the final point for his personality for Mysel is that he always strives to be cheerful, even as an adult, and was also somewhat absent-minded. His regression back into a child has not changed this one bit. I do like under description was blind since birth and being much older than he looks. Mysel's eyes have long since clouded over with cataracts. However, they still sparkle with childlike joy, though sometimes, if you watch closely, you can also see a depth of wisdom tinged with sadness.
Oh. Yay! I'm sad though. That yay is not right. It's inconsistent with my emotion.
It was a lot of fun introducing Mysel.
Oh, yeah.
Just being like, he's a child, but he's not. He's so weird.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He's not even creepy. He's just weird. Oh my goodness. Thinking about the characters, built. It was fun. It's fun now looking back on like what I built, because I specifically built a character who was neurodivergent in a time when I didn't know that I was neurodivergent. And now here I am, neurodivergent me, in this world, but also in that world, and going,
Your character kept doing stuff, and you're like, hey, I do. Wait.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, look, my character loves doing... Alexandre, why do you do that thing?
Why, though?
But why? And how do you manage to get away with doing that thing? And I can't get away with doing that thing. Can I get away with doing that thing? Okay. And what if What if you struggled to like communicate with people? Like, what's that? What's that thing that you're doing over there? Like, you're struggling with that. What's? Can you tell me about like that? Did some therapy with my kid.
I like KJB. Yeah, Hio Fun Russell is definitely creepy. My favorite reaction to the art was getting the art back and going,
That's not creepy.
"Oh,
That's not
that
creepy.
I wasn't expecting. What is this aspect of this character that I'm
That's
not
not creepy.
expecting?" And then showing other people and being like, "Why is that dragon flirting with me with its eyes?" I went, "Oh, that's what I've done."
Here's sexy. Here's
And
here's
then
like
I was telling you, I was like, I wasn't like,
read the
hey
description of
Sonia,
him.
make
Read
me a
it.
sexy dragon.
Read
And
the
I was like, this is the
description.
description. And you went, you described a sexy dragon.
You described a sexy dragon.
I realized in reflection, I based the if this was the design brief for like a cologne ad, it's like you probably used
Oh,
the same
yeah.
words, or like a suit. I was just like, I did the thing. I double check if I was there stuff that I think most of that's there's no spoilers in there anymore. I think when I first read it to you, we hadn't the whole de-aging stuff hadn't come out. Yeah, description: how to define Hio von Russell, last of the great dragons, sleek and powerful, sinuous and poised, terrifying and lithe, a mix of lizard and snake with an almost feline musculature, a physical embodiment of speed, power, and cunning, not to mention magic. At one point, mountains were his stepping stones, and the world shook when he beat his wings. However, as a result of the spell that cursed him, he has slowly de-aged back to a younger, smaller form, though still imposing, thank you very much.
Imposing.
But his eyes still blaze with a yellow-orange fire, his scales still shimmer with deep purples and blues, his antler-like horns are still impressive, albeit somewhat diminished. And I went, yeah, no, okay, I see what I did there.
KJ, I'm so sorry, but we're gonna go and bring him back to life.
Yeah.
A crush on Chevalier just in time. Just in time. He'll be back. We'll get him back. We'll get him back, and then all of the fanfic will be yours. Right? Sexy dragon. Sexy dragon.
Yeah, because it took a while to actually come up with a name for dragon. So literally, when I sent the stuff to Sonia, it wasn't like Mysel and Hio von Russell. It was child and dragon as the description, and it was like the day before we actually met Hio. Which is like there's a sort of like 3 weeks.
Oh yes.
Between like Mysel being introduced and Hio being reintroduced, and it was like the day before that was when I came up with that name because I had set myself a challenge. Well, not really a challenge, but I liked the idea that his name meant something in another culture's language, but that culture wouldn't have made that connection. So I tried to make it so that that's actually what his name is. And it was literally like the night before, like as I was going to bed, I suddenly went, I haven't looked at Old English though. So we got Hiofon and Russell, and we just mashed them together. Because I think it's like Sky Change was the...
You told me it's in
because I was looking for something that was essentially Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah.
Like he is the change that comes from a clear sky that you have no control over.
Oh, good.
And so it was sort of like if the expression of like how did that happen? It's like you're von Russell. And everyone would be like, fair. But it was they don't remember that, but it comes from the fact that this dragon would just rock up and go, I see this conflict and one of you is wrong. And it's like how come wasn't that noble, like getting a huge amount of taxes from those villages? He's like, no, we're not doing that anymore. Why not?
Here, von Russell.
Here, von Russell.
Change from the sky.
Yeah. The sky change just rocked up and said no.
That sounds deific.
I definitely incorporated the fact that there was more than a few people who worship dragons as gods. but the dragons themselves are like, no, we're just old and large and powerful.
Yeah.
And then a few of them were like, yes, I am.
Yeah.
But the dragons very much, everything that lives dies. Which takes us a long time.
That's fair.
But then the older dragons were dying, and the younger dragons were being killed by the giants. It didn't go well.
Who do you think was being hit with the spell? As someone that doesn't know, but knows that it's probably been decided.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't decided by me.
No, exactly.
Because I was just like, in the same sense that when we were making Chevalier, it was like, I don't think he remembers what happened before he woke up. And Michelle was like, okay. I was like, but should we discuss so that like we know? He's like, and he just went, no, I know. And I went, oh, cool.
Oh no.
Cool.
Oh no.
Looking forward to finding out.
Yeah, I, as someone hit by that electricity, I am not. When does Alexandria get the remote control?
In terms of who got hit, I kind of. Like I do kind of like the idea of like Mysel diving in front of this city-sized dragon. Just be like, no, this tiny little speck of a person being like, no, in front of this spell.
Okay.
But not that that's potentially how it exactly, would be how it happened. I just think the visual is funny. But at the same time, it's also equally kind of funny for it to be the other way around.
Yeah.
Where it's just like this, this tiny human and this dragon just being like, we're not doing this today.
I do wonder, though, if it were either, if it did happen at all. Like, I'm just wondering if anything happened at all. Like, in the same way that now I have a strong belief that, the
Yeah.
it wasn't
Jasper was that Lucas didn't save Jasper from drowning.
It's
the river is. I think he was like the river's more like the river Styx.
Yeah, it's more like the river Styx, where like.
And so that's the part that is in Jasper's head.
Yes.
But it's not actually.
It's not a river.
Happened.
There may have been a drowning, but I can't reconcile the idea that they were near a raging, rushing, flooded river, and a wealthy as fuck couple of kids ended up in it. Because how?
I mean, have you met them?
And would they have had... How could they have had no one with them? With the youngest at that age?
Yes, how could the family whose father literally doesn't care about them end up in a situation where they were on their own and in danger? But I do think that's because when you described it to me, I was like, I don't know, and then you were like, but like the river's more like the river Styx, and I went, yeah, whoa, hang on. Oh, wait, yes.
Thanks. Yeah, my metaphor game is
part of that
on par with Michelle's, no better, if that's what it is.
Like the help, which is the thing we did more with the Paddington Prowler show and stuff on the previous channel we were on, where people who aren't involved would take headphones off.
Yes.
And then Michelle has, on occasion, adopted that idea.
Yes.
Which is a neat thing you can do with online game, because I mean obviously people can leave the room, but it's a lot easier to be like, could you just take your headphones off and then chuck them back on? Is actually is pretty efficient.
Yeah.
And so one like I just wasn't involved with one of the journeys to the river.
Yes.
And so the stuff you explained, I was like, I don't know if that makes sense. And you're like, oh wait, hang on.
Hang on.
X, Y, and Z information.
You
I
need
was like,
context.
oh.
You need context. Hang on.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense. Because it is... Because then it's also like, you know, what did Lucas promise to pay? Because we're assuming the leg was at least part of it, but I don't feel like it was the full payment.
I mean, it can't have been because there's still a debt.
Yeah.
Which suggests to me that maybe there are other members of the Edgewater family who are missing other limbs. Life for a life, you know?
I mean...
That's not the best idea I've ever come up with, but it's not the worst.
Isn't Cedric... Well, I immediately was like, isn't Cedric on his second wife?
He hasn't... What?
He's not...
He didn't remarry.
For some reason might be conflating characters.
I think so. Also,
but
I don't think
my sudden thought
that.
was like, was the price like... did we suddenly get very Full Metal Alchemist? And it was like... It was Lucas's leg and the mum. I was just like, that's not right. Is it? I don't... what was the marital status of Cedric Edgewater?
I mean, widow. I'm gonna change the background noise because there's just someone laughing at this. I burped. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't aim for that. I'm sorry, everyone. That was really feral.
I was like, oh, hear this? I turned it on right at that moment. Just to hear that.
That was feral. I'm sorry, everyone. I didn't do that. That was not. That's simply not acceptable. Let's turn that one down. We were having a serious moment. Let's go back to that quiet corner. We don't need this. We don't need this business.
That
Thank
was
you,
speaking
Syrinscape,
of
but that was awful.
The flashback story that I haven't finished. That was the first story. Is like Chevalier's like has just returned. They've moved back to Shining Capital, and Alain is basically like, you have to go out into the city. You can't just hide. And Chevalier's like, fine. And he meets a child that's being bullied, and even despite thinking that he shouldn't get involved because he's just going to potentially make it worse, he does, and then gets yelled at by the child's mother. But then realizes that the child has left this broken toy of an airship, and Chevalier's just like, definitely shouldn't do this, but I'm gonna go. He's like, tells his what I refer to as Benno, but it's basically his as Iron Man had what's his face, Jarvis. Chevalier has Benno to be like, go make sure you know where that lady is because we're gonna have to go find her. And he fixes the airship, and he goes and gives it back to this kid, and the mother actually apologizes, and there's a whole point about how she jokes about how Chevalier's like, well, most people just treat me like an object, and so it's surprising that you would apologize. And she's like, oh no, I make a point of never apologizing to objects. And Chevalier's like, yeah, but you just, I see what you did there. But then gives this child this now repaired airship, but because Chevalier fixed it, it floats. And he's like, didn't expect that, but I don't know how long that's gonna last. And then realize they've not actually introduced each other, so Chevalier's like, well, I'm Chevalier, and the kid goes, I'm Cedric Edgewater. And that's like the end of the memory. And that happened before this. So
Chevalier could have been the reason why all of this is happening. Thanks, Chevalier.
Well, that was what I asked you was like, do you think he still has the airship? And you're like, he do, but it's not flying anymore.
Yeah, he would, but it's not flying. And he's got components, and he wants them to fly.
He's definitely pulled it apart and studied it.
He's pulled it apart
as an adult.
Yes. And all that's missing is belief.
Yeah, that's what you
All
crack.
that's missing.
That was also a joke that I made, that if you do actually crack open Chevalier, there's a person inside.
Yes.
It's actually that he's actually a mech.
No, don't. Please, we don't need to put that out into the universe more. That.
I think I did check because it was what's the terrible that terrible anime, Neo Yokio.
Oh. Yeah.
With Will Smith's son and a bunch of other and some actually very good actors. Are just like, why are you in this? It's a whole show about a rich kid who's complaining about his life being difficult.
Excuse me? What?
Yeah,
No,
it's almost it was. I watched like the first two episodes with my brother, and it was almost like that. So bad it's good, because some of it was kind of hilarious, in that it was terrible.
Yeah.
But then by the end of the second episode, we were just like, no, this has definitely reached so bad it's terrible.
Right.
But we found out later that there's a scene, because he's also got this like robot butler.
Yeah.
But there's a scene like towards the end when the butler's like, oh, I'm going on break. And they're like, wait, what? And he just sort of collapses down, and there's an old lady inside. It turns out it's not a robot, it's a mech. And she just gets up and leaves. And the people there, and the other three are just like, I'm sorry, what? And I was like, I almost want to watch just to see that scene. I love it. Oh, but why?
I was referring to the awful joke you decided to try to play on me that time.
That is the gift that keeps giving to me. I don't know how about you experience it. I forget. I forget that it exists.
You forget that it exists? Do you know how many times because Michelle knows about it, I'm terrified now?
I'm
terrified.
This was definitely one of those, like, I like to joke about how it's like, yeah, that would be awful, and Michelle might do it. I'm like, that's okay. No, this one was like,
this one's terrible.
I need to be clear with you. This is not okay. Like, it's funny to me, but it was basically like, oh, where is it?
You did that. That one's a you broke Alexandre.
This was so what, for context, as I previously mentioned, that like I kind of was like, because the Anvil Heart Company, which was Elena Donadou's group, was obviously a big part for Chevalier. I was like, do you mind if I start just riffing stuff for it? And like, who are the people in it? What was going on? And Michelle was like, yeah, it's totally fine. And so I made, and originally the first thing it was for was that when we went to that town that were having like a Day of the Dead celebration, and part of that was like remembering people you've lost, and I was like, well, who has Chevalier lost? And I was like, well, adventuring's not safe, and so I needed one or two people for him to remember. So I made a whole party and then killed two of them. But I think it was. You were like, do you have like an actual detailed list?
Yeah, I wanted to know
and
who
I
they
went,
were.
no, I don't, but I should. Hang on.
Yes.
And so I wrote one, so we've got, it was, Elena Donadou, Arith Panala, who is Alexandre's great aunt.
Through her father's side.
Marcus Mason, who was the bardiest bard who ever barded. I think it was at one point the joke that he's legitimately one of the best dancers in the Confederacy. Babek Tilbeg is the gnome wizard, and then the two that had passed were Liri Hovorkova, who was a tiefling. So that was we had a bit of a moment where Chevalier was unhappy with someone's opinion about tieflings. And then we have, which I don't think we've actually settled on the name of that. There is essentially a race of bird people in where we're going.
Yes.
But which was in D&D terms would be the Arakora.
The Arakokra, because there's an extra K.
But we're not 100% if that's like a copyrighted thing. And so the other one was the Arakoa, but we're also not 100% if that's a World of Warcraft thing.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, well, it's one of them. And so there was, Danica Wilkin, who was an Arakoa. And then, part of why I love this is because I didn't plan this, but the formatting of this document meant that this was on the very bottom of the second page, where I wrote that, because it was like, this is who they are, here's like pronouns, species, what they would do, what they did in the party, and then like notes about like what pieces of information have we locked in for these people. And so I wrote, at the very bottom of the second page was Vivienne Chevalier Legrand, who is a half-elf, pronouns she, her, but later he, him, and her party role was Cursed Knight. And under notes was trapped in a suit of cursed armor towards the end of the company's adventures, causing severe changes in her personality, and I'm just messing with you. And then on the page after that just goes, Chevalier, Praetorian, he, him, notes, many. We don't worry about it. And I constantly forget I've done that. So if I look at that document to be like, I need to remind myself about one of these people, and I scroll through and I go, who the fuck is Vivienne Legrand? Oh shit! And I just.
And I'm glad you get so much mileage out of it. It's so good for you. It's so good for me.
When I shared this, with you, we were talking on Messenger, and I literally was just like, I know when you were making comments, I was like, I know exactly where you are in this document, based on your comments, and I'm just sitting at the computer going, just waiting for this sudden what. But when I said that to Michelle, I was like, I need to be clear. This is not what happened, because even the moment you give it even a cursory thought, it is so heart-rendingly sad, and I can't deal with it. Like, I'm not okay with that being true.
You can't do that though. You can't just be like, no. So this is a story of something that didn't happen.
Yeah. This is just a joke to get a rise out of Shauntelle. This is nothing else. I'm showing you this in the hopes that you will also enjoy a bit of a chuckle. But good God, no! It's so sad. It's so.
I have so much trauma around specifically.
It's like the moment you give it any kind of cursory, it's like, right. So they had this woman who, in the hopes to protect the party, puts on magic armor that turns her into what is now Chevalier. And everyone knows.
Except
everyone
her.
in that party would know. And Elena has lived with this being for the past 50 years, with Chevalier believing that he's being really helpful. But every day, Elena would be looking at this person being like, my friend is trapped in there. And we can't get her out. We've done everything.
So now Alexandria's on her way to like get her friend out of the armor.
And then the Confederacy's like, so we need to cut open that robot. And Elena just goes, no, you're not allowed to cut open this. Definitely a robot. That's yep. Can't let you do that.
Not the robot. No.
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 None of that is okay.
Please no.
I don't want it. I did like, though, on the subject of when the compromise that Chevalier and her made about whether or not they could experiment on him, which was, anything you do, the entire research staff goes through first. And they went, all right.
Yeah.
That's the compromise. And I like to think they went further than you think they would.
Oh, yeah.
But then they got to the point where it was like, we need to cut them open. It's like, well, you know the deal. And they're like, and it's like, you're going to deactivate him first? And like, you don't know how to do that. It goes, cool. You don't get to deactivate either.
Nope.
This is a vivisection.
Yes.
All of you. You can replace the staff afterwards.
A Vivian
And
section.
they went, well, never mind. Sorry to disturb you. And then Chevalier and Elena high-fived, I imagine.
And now we're in a situation where... What do you think Cedric actually wants to do with Chevalier?
Cut him open, learn how he works.
That's it.
He's tech.
Fucking waste.
Well, it's the thing. It's like,
But he's living. He lives. He's
what's
alive.
better than one sentient war machine? Knowing how to make them. And just like churning them out. And I'm sure like Cedric probably is like, yeah, if we had Praetorians, we wouldn't have to sacrifice lives on the battlefield. We would just send these soulless robots.
Which is the neutral way of thinking of it.
Yeah.
Actually, it's perfect. It's actually fantastic and flawless and very
clear.
clear.
And then when Elena and other people go, you know that's a sentient person, right?
And he's
But
like,
that's
no.
This is not a mindless robot. And Cedric's like, ha ha ha, no, you're wrong. It's just a very clever machine. Mm-hmm. And like, no, thinking, feeling, understands concepts of like philosophy and being.
Music and dance and
has
art.
self-determination.
How do you think... How do you think it's going to go getting him back?
I mean, I know how I set it up. I don't know how Michelle's going to run with it.
That soul box? Do we put it in a soul train?
I mean, there's a bunch of things in that box.
There is. You know...
And it's literally made of him.
Yup. That's not creepy. You know...
No.
Not at all. No. Not just one creepy kid in this party. No.
It's like, it was definitely...
I almost... When I... You know how I said I sent a letter home? When I sent Michelle that letter, I almost said that I put something in with it. Almost.
It would be pretty funny.
Not the whole box, but
it's like, you get there,
something from it.
There's like a person being like, oh yeah, so you find like this like mechanic. It's like, oh yeah, no, I can get him back up, no problem. You just got that box thing there, and they're like, no, I sent that home. Like, no.
I mean, I was just gonna send the picture home. It was just gonna be the picture, but like, if it's belief that does it all, then like,
it's just like there's like it's just like you go to like some like ancient like factory and there's just rows of Praetorians, and they just like wheel one out, pop off the back plate, and there's like a slot for the box, and it goes, and there's like pops it back on again, and he's like, there you go, and you're just like, what?
And that's something that I want Alexandre to create a chevalier. That's the end of it. That's kind of where I'm headed. She's getting close. She's getting close to actually being able to create a chevalier.
And that's like, again, like on a sort of meta level, it was specifically, it was like, you know, should Chevalier die? Is it okay if X, Y, and Z? And part of that was essentially like, is it okay that he can make this box and give it to, like he can make and have this thing as like here are some keepsakes, and like put the letter in, put the photo in, because the photo came from the D&D thing. I found a homebrew background. I think it was literally Bodyguard. But one of the pieces of equipment it came with was just a keepsake.
That's where Alexandre's necklace comes from.
Yeah.
That's what that
and
is.
So it was just like, well, what would he have as a keepsake? And it was a picture of the Ample Heart Company. And there's also why he's had manacles. He just has manacles on him. And at one point he's like, oh, we tie him up. It's like, I've got manacles. You have what? Why? I'm like, it's just...
Chevalier, what you doing with the manacles? Can I borrow those manacles for just a moment?
But, and also why he has a little black book of like potential enemies.
Yeah.
That was the other thing. I was like,
I just love the idea of Chevalier with like some glasses perched on the end of his nose. Like, I would love that.
It's literally just people on my shit list.
But Chevalier doesn't shit.
Yeah.
Wait.
Not that you've seen.
I don't like that answer.
Reserves it for people he doesn't like.
Alexandra can theoretically make as many Chevaliers as she wants as soon as she has another, I believe,
I
3
do,
experience.
I do like. Can Alexandre make an extra Chevalier 2 asking for a friend?
That is what I'm responding to right now. She
Yeah.
can make as many Chevaliers as you want. You don't have to stop at 1.
To be fair, you can make like the shell.
I can make the
Um,
shell. I would have to create souls, and I don't know that I'm quite that
Good-
adept yet. But
Good thing you're a
soon.
watcher now.
She's a watcher now. Time to be a maker.
When you can scoop up. Like you can see and then grab with a net. I don't know how this works.
I wonder if, like, copy paste would work. Copy paste to Chevalier.
You've got this like fabricator, and he's like, make 1 Chevalier, and then you go, hang on, highlight, copy, paste, highlight, copy, paste, highlight. It exponentially gets this like.
And then take those 3 bits of text and just copy paste that,
Yeah.
and then take that and copy paste, and all of a sudden you've got an army. See, that's
Someone. Yeah, it's like she just rocks up and someone teaches her like basic coding and gives her a 3D printer and.
I feel like after all of that, to like have someone say, you just need to learn coding.
Yeah.
I could imagine that. Renee, she would do that.
Yeah. I mean,
Renee, she would absolutely do that.
It's like, I'm going to teach you coding. I don't know. It's like, I don't think you understand. This is how to program the universe. And you're like, I take it back. Yeah,
Oh.
bring it on.
Oh, yes.
Te-
I would be terrified. Me personally, not Alexandre. I, Shauntelle, would be absolutely terrified if it turns out that Alexandre is supposed to, in some way, hold the key to the universe. I would be afraid for the universe.
What are you doing?
Alex, just so people know, in my head, the way that I'm playing Alexandra, she has ADHD and autism. I don't know what would come out of it. It's in the same vein as if I handed myself 20 years ago the keys to the universe. There would be so much popcorn and hot dogs.
It's like, that's the thing. It's not even like this grim horror thing. It's just like, no, it'd just be like
Popcorn and hot dogs and weighted blankets for everyone. Like, just it would
wakes
just
up
pop
going,
up.
why is the pantry full of hot dogs?
Oh yeah,
Why is
no,
this
no,
blanket
no.
heavy.
She would never do anything bad.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it doesn't-
everyone
it
would
doesn't, like,
have
turn into like
pancakes.
Death Note or something.
No. The world does not become Death Note. It becomes more like pancakes, hot dogs. All of a sudden, like roses are like grass, and
Yeah, it's like the that idea of like the anti-crime, where it's not like it's not the opposite. It's not like not doing crime. It's you're breaking in and like decorating someone and like
yes,
doing minor maintenance in someone's house.
yes,
And it's like you're asking, you're just like, nope, you now, your life is mildly improved
Yes.
by my definition of mildly improved, which is mostly pancakes and weighted blankets.
yes.
And he goes, I'm not complaining, I'm just so confused.
That I feel like, yeah, that'd be about what happened.
What then happens when like the knock-on effects of that, like, pancake houses go out of business. So you've like a bunch of like there's a whole industry just caves in, blanket makers. No.
Well,
lose
blanket
their
makers
jobs.
become bedsheet makers. The pillow industry goes wild.
Everyone's like, look, we're gonna provide, training for your new job. Don't worry
Yeah.
about it.
Oh no, they don't provide training. They just do it because like it's magic. It's just magic.
Give them the knowledge.
Poutine for all.
They get to like, I know kung fu, but it's now I know how to make pillows.
I know pillow.
I know pillow.
I know pillow. What else would happen if Alexandre had the keys to the universe? Aerith would be back. Her grandfather would be back. Chevalier, obviously, would be back. The reason she wants to learn how to do all of this would happen. She wouldn't need to do it anymore. Like, she has one particular goal that is her absolute goal, and is the reason she would likely say yes to almost anything. She actually has a very specific goal that she wants Song to accomplish. Or that she wants to accomplish using the song before she has to give it up, if she has to give it up.
It just occurred to me that with all like the time manipulation stuff, you could have a Dormammu I've come to bargain moment with Alexandre and the song. Just be like, nope, you're stuck with me until you say yes. I'll say yes to your thing, but you have to say yes to my thing, and we're not leaving until that happens. You gave me access to time, you fool.
You idiot. And you have absolute... Like, that... At the end of the day... Is Alexandria a clone?
You go to the Praetorian factory. You get your new Praetorian off the rack, and then as they leave in the TV show version of this, the camera lingers and pans back up, and you see that behind the rows of Praetorians there's rows of Alexandre, and it's like Elena did not look a lot like Alexandre when she was younger.
She looked exactly like her.
They have to tweak it enough over time. If two of them are going to meet, they have to tweak it enough. So like, all right, point the ears on this next one.
Like they accidentally knocked one over. The ears chipped.
Like, no, it's fine.
It's fine. Change time a bit. It's fine. My view, my one of those hypotheses is that Marie's a twin. That is one of my hypotheses.
Wait, who? Which one?
Her mum. Alexandre's mother is a twin. And so the mother...
a twin.
Yes.
A twin.
Yes.
Sorry. I thought you said her twin. I was like, one of my theories is that her mum is actually her twin. And I was just like... What? I'm going to need more context.
How did we get here? No, her mum is a twin. And that's why her mum wasn't chosen. Because the twin went. And just did not return.
That's why she's pissy about it.
And that's why. Well, no. See, there's two views for me. There's the Alexandre's mum's a twin, and one went off, and so, but they can't tell Alexandre because they can't say anything about what happens there. None of them can, no matter what happens. The alternative is Alexandre is a twin, and won't know until she gets to the song. And it's like, wait, it's me. I am the song.
The twin's like, so tag out?
So your turn to be here for the next millennia. Can you...
What if? If that is the case.
Oh no, don't follow it forward. If that was... I just throw things out.
It's nice. It's fine. No. So, Elena didn't say no.
I mean, it told me that...
Elena gets there, is met by her twin.
Oh, shit.
Who goes, your turn. And it's basically like, the twin has blah amount of magic, but then Elena gets an amount of magic. So by the time they get there, it's like, yeah, we need to trade because I'm running out. And so actual Elena says, okay, steps in. Clone or twin Elena, who is now depowered, steps out, and they go, well, what happened? And says, I said no, and they took my powers. And they went, that sucks. Oh well. And then that whole period of like, yeah, there was a bit where Elena was like not quite Elena, and where everyone is like, well, yeah, she had PTSD, and it's like, no, she was relearning. She was gathering that thing, and she had to spend a bit of time being like, okay, who was this person, and how do I be them? Cool. Now I've caught on. We'll move forward. And then that just has to happen a few times. So it happened with Maria. It's now happening with Alexandre. And for whatever reason, their family just has to do that.
I have realized I need to stop making suggestions to you because you make them horrifically terrifying. I just casually go, I throw out an idea, and then you're like,
a sibling.
Hey, let's go all the way to the end.
But what if... Well, that's the thing. That was the whole thing with Vivian was like, this is really funny as this little brief little joke. And it's like, yeah, but what if we consider the implications? Like, no, I don't want to. It's awful. And I hate
it. Stop it.
All right. Okay.
What's the deal with Spider? That was the end. That's the question.
Just in general.
That's
or like...
whole question.
I was very... I certainly went, in that... Spider had gone from no extraordinary attributes to tying agility to movement.
That's interesting.
Which in Open Legend is like a lot of like... I mean, ultimately it's teleportation, but also it's like haste.
Yes.
Are the two big ones from memory. I think telekinesis is in there.
And it also gives some more colour to the fact that he can climb walls so like
easily.
A bug.
Like a spider.
Mm-hmm.
So when Jamie was like, oh, I have this now, I was like...
Tell me about this then.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So...
I notice you have this thing. Could you have less of this thing?
Like the two non-magical people, after spending an amount of time with Alexandre, became magic. Not only became magical, but became magical with having that magic tied to their previous primary physical attribute. So Lucas's was tied to his strength, and Spider's is tied to his agility.
And Alexandre has back-tied hers to her will.
Uh-huh.
Which is fun, because if she's ever in a willpower fight against the song, that's not going to work out.
No.
It's not going to work out at all. I really hope the song's good.
Yeah, look.
I hope it's good. Because that's just it. I haven't increased that stat at all. In fact, it's tied to my creation. My creation has gone up, which means the song is more powerful now. The willpower, that's a D20 and a D4. More chance to explode. But right now my creation is 1D8. 2D8, 1D8, hang on. 2D8. It is 2D8. It's big numbers.
Yeah.
Is big
I think
numbers.
2D8 is the highest we can have at this point.
Yes, it is.
Not until... Actually, next level. Next level we can get to... You can pop it up.
Yeah.
To the next point. To 7. Yeah.
Yeah. But I've used up all of my points for now. Because I just want to get Alexandre to the point where she can animate. And she can now. We just need a place to do it.
And time.
We have all the time in the world.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
Literally all the time.
If you get like
and
a
the world.
little bit higher creation, you can start. You can make your own. The extent of the materials you can make vastly increases.
It does, yes.
So it's like eventually gets to the point where you're your own walking like survival game, where it's like you start, you go, all right, I need like the basic tool, so I create the basic tool. From making the basic tool, I can now make more advanced tools.
Yes.
Except you don't have to gather materials, because you also create materials.
And if she makes friends with the things that she animates, then they will also help gather the tools.
It's literally like it gets to the point where Alexandria just walks out into the wilderness, and then a couple of months later, you walk back and there's like a thriving town.
She walks out into the wilderness. She walks back with an army.
Yeah, that is the other version of that experience. Yes.
Yes, that is, if I'm honest, what she was thinking when she's like, how can I make Cedric Edgewater unhappy? What is the worst possible thing I can think of to do to him, specifically? And actually, it's humiliate him.
You ever disliked someone so much that you raised an army?
From the dead?
From nothing.
Shit. If we went back to Glitter Delta Cove, I wonder if she could animate the ashes. Sorry,
Yeah, no, it's my fault things get bad. That's.
Oh no! I just
That,
myself.
however, was my favorite Whisper of the Wild question.
It wasn't a Whisper of the Wild.
No, that when you're asking about like who caused the fire.
Oh yeah.
That is my hands down favorite. Because it is so Alexandre, and I was like, it was this moment of just like, if you ever tell Chevalier that's how you ask that question, he's gonna lose his mind.
Hey, Song, did the Progress Confederacy make this happen? Yes.
I was like,
That's what I thought too. That's what I thought too.
No other answer.
Yeah, they totally did this. I'm gonna destroy it. I want a revolution.
Oh, I love it. We don't know how literally this thing takes these questions, but probably not,
It doesn't need to
somewhat
push. It doesn't even need to twist it that much, though.
Oh, it's just like that. It's not even. It's not it twisting it. It's like
the question
it
is
doesn't have
biased.
leeway. It doesn't have the leeway.
Yeah.
It only has two answers.
I mean, she decided,
one of them
and
is definitely wrong, and the other one is amazingly misleading. I was just like, oh, I love it. I love it so much. It's the worst way to word that question, and it was perfect.
Alexandre asks questions based on.
Could you confirm my bias, please?
Well,
Yes, I can. Thank you.
It doesn't make sense from Alexandre's perspective. It doesn't make sense to ask about things that she doesn't know about, if that makes sense. This is not Shauntelle, but to Alexandre, asking the basic questions is a waste of a question. Find out something, build on it, ask whether or not your outcome, the final outcome that you've reached is accurate. The problem is her base is not sturdy. Not the sturdiest of bases.
I mean, Chevalier was trying to work on that, but
Sheltered 18-year-old. What are you gonna do?
That was his thing, and that part. To be fair, and part of his other thing was like, some things just have to be learned through experience.
Some things you just have to learn by being given the keys to the universe.
Yeah, sometimes you have to just be thrown out of the nest and see if you fly.
If the universe goes with you, then that's...
Look, the metaphor collapses a little bit at that point, like the universe. But,
Yeah. These things happen. What is the worst possible thing that could end up happening from Chevalier's perspective? Because we've talked about, like, Alexandre being like, here, you want Heo, and then you'll bring back Chevalier? Yeah, take him. I don't want him.
In broad, before he quote unquote died.
Quote unquote. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
He...
Don't say it like that to Alexandre. She'll just outright melt you into a puddle. Like, there's no way.
He is not great at communicating. He's not that bad at communicating. He's not. he's bad with like word choice, not like intentionally blasé.
Quote unquote.
It's just the dragon like, oh, you know, he's dead. It's whatever.
Just the two claws.
Yeah.
Dead.
You know. I think Chevalier's concern was that Alexandre, in a bid to, because he doesn't see it as a failure on Elena's part. Like that wasn't his viewpoint of it. His viewpoint was always, you know, she weighed up her options and decided that the best course of action, as she saw it, was to say no, and that sucked. That was really rough for her, obviously, and it was very hard to do. But she was ultimately, that was the correct choice. So when she's like, in like hindsight, she doesn't regret doing it. She regrets the outcome.
Yeah.
So his fear, I guess, was that in Alexandre's, because Alexandre believed that she was trying to make up for this failure, that drive would lead her to not question whatever was asked of her. That she would just be like, that she would walk in with the mindset of, it doesn't matter what is being said, I'm saying yes. Where he would very much wanted her to, in the same way Elena had, in his mind, basically gone, she like critically analyze what was being asked of her, and then decide if it was the best choice, and not have this like familial burden influence that decision. So that was his.
Did we ever consider that maybe she didn't?
Who didn't?
Elena didn't. I mean,
Didn't.
Alexandre doesn't get drunk, right? She went through it and she's like, oh, ow, no, I've done this. I'm not doing this again. This was horrible.
I mean, you started with a Centurion. It wasn't a great choice.
Yeah, but like, Elena did it a whole lot more. From the way that Alexandre's grown up, Elena had a whole lot of fun doing the whole thing. Like, doing the things. She had a lot of fun. From the way it's been described.
Yeah.
Or else Alexandre wouldn't have wanted to do it.
You did get a rose-tinted version of the events, yes.
Yes, but even so, there would have been more situations like having fun in Glitter Delta Cove.
Yeah.
Have we considered that Elena is more impulsive than Alexandre? And in fact said no, because she was grumpy that day.
I hadn't, but I love it so much. And like, because part of me is like, if that comes to light and Chevalier's there, and it's like, this actually happened, it wouldn't be this like, oh, my perception of things is shattered. It'd be like, of course she fucking did. No, you're right. That's her up and down. God damn it. It's just like, come on.
In which case they're like, okay, we'll send the more thoughtful Donahue.
Because that's the thing.
And this is like, what they've got. Because
it's all about like, it's like, you know, you focus on like the similarities between them, but it's also like there are a bunch of differences, and like Elena is clearly more like more able to make friends easily.
Yeah.
At the very least.
Yes.
So her journey was like, she had her bestie with her to begin with, and then met a bunch of other cool people.
Yeah.
That all kind of basically, for the most part, got along. And she got to go and do thrilling heroics with these people. And yeah, sometimes it was rough, but like, it's the sort of thing where it's like, it was probably scary and all sorts of things and traumatic in the moment.
Yes.
But in that, like, you know, decades later, it's like, and then you know that the end of that story is, and then we walked away safe, and we won the day in that particular adventure.
Yeah.
So, in hindsight, it's a good story. It's a fun story. But then you're also not telling the stories of two of those people died, and you couldn't do anything about it. And it's like, that's not a story they tell around the fireplace when they're reminiscing. They don't, or at least not when Alexandre was there. Like, no. Like after she'd gone to bed and they were into their cups a bit.
Yeah.
Maybe they got, you know, a little bit more Maldron. I'm butchering that
Moldwin.
word.
Moldwin.
Yeah,
Mold
just
wine.
like butchering that word.
Yes.
And then yeah, that's when they would like reminisce more about the sadder
Yeah.
parts that don't like with that in hindsight end terribly.
Yes.
You know that story ends with tragedy, and it's like or sacrifice or something,
Yes.
and those are painful, and you don't talk about them to this excitable child who looks up to you, who in this child's eyes like these are these crazy adventurous heroes. It's like,
Yeah.
and you're like I don't, but it's like it's hard. It's hard to talk about the trauma,
Yeah.
and so there's a degree of like I
And
don't want to inflict that on this child.
and there's the degree of I don't want to, but also guess what? Very luckily, there is magic stopping me from, or
Yeah,
something stopping me from doing so anyway.
and
So I don't have
yeah,
to. So I won't.
the idea that
Phew.
potentially a magical compulsion to not be able to go into those details either.
Because that might stop it from
Magical
going.
non-disclosure agreement.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I feel like that would be my worst nightmare.
You get to say no, but you have to sign an NDA.
Or like the song just it's you just walk into a boardroom and it's just the song sitting at one end of a table in a suit.
Good, you've arrived for your quarterly review. Let's go. So you've had these powers for a while. How do you think you've been using them? Well, good. How would you rate your performance?
Very good.
Why are you valuable to this company?
Because I'm the only one you have.
Oh, that's not true. Anyway,
Oh no. What?
it's like no.
What?
It's a big company. There's a lot of people.
Oh no. Where are they? How have I never seen them before?
Yeah. Big
Where have
world.
they been?
Big world, and only one of. Yeah. It's like, oh no, you're the only one on this plane.
So we're thinking of sending you to another plane. What are your thoughts?
Transferring you to this other, still part of the material realm, but like, great perks, entirely new ecosystem.
No, thank you. But you'll never see your family again.
Oh,
I mean,
no,
you'll never see
not.
family again either way. But like, you get a nice situation here or a nice situation there. Which one would you prefer? Sideways movement. It's all about sideways movement. No moving. We don't move up or down. It's a lateral move in this company or nothing. Which would you like?
No, if you're there long enough, some of the higher ups start retiring.
Do you mean dying? Do you mean we kill them?
No,
Oh, okay.
I'm assuming in this scenario, these like eldritch bureaucracy that keep the worlds going. I don't know what they do.
Oh my goodness! It's
It's like they're the ones that manage the world. So it's like, oh yeah, no, there's deities within this world. Yeah, but we make sure they're doing the correct thing, and so we're gonna get you to you've been a sort of a field agent. We want to move you into management.
that's just that.
So
And
there's this other one you're going to need to monitor, and you basically get the song's job, but on a different plane of existence.
do you think the song is neutral?
I think some of my early speculation, particularly once you knew that it was the song of the world. It's sort of like there's certainly a potential that it's neutral, but in that sort of like it's neutral, but its viewpoint is so far away from yours, so pulled back.
Neutral
like,
over ages.
it's
not
like
neutral
it's
over...
neutral, but it's like it has to think in terms of like eons. It has to think in terms of the planet. It has to think in terms of, so what's the comic, the Saturday morning breakfast cereal, and there's a guy praying And it's like, God, why do you allow there to be suffering? And God's like, what are you talking about? The overall happiness and contentment within the world has only ever increased with time. And the guy's like, wait, are you just looking at like the overall average? And he's like, yeah. It's like, I would recommend maybe looking at some of the detailed points of data. And God's just like, I mean, sure, I guess I could. Oh no. Oh, what? Why? No, hang on.
Who did this?
And so the song is just like, it's like Alexandre has to see the personal level, and the song just doesn't. And so it's like, it's neutral in that regard, but also it's comes across as uncaring, I would imagine. But it's like, it cares, but its priorities are very different. That, obviously we've learnt more since then.
Yeah.
So.
But I mean, that still is true. I would argue that hasn't changed. Like, having learned more, that's almost more true.
But like neutral in the way that like Lovecraftian like eldritch horrors are technically neutral. They're not trying to do the thing. They just, by their sheer existence, wreck things. But it's
except that they've got a teenager that can ask questions, and they choose to respond.
Yeah.
Which is, to me, not eldritch horror enough.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't think that is definitely like a tempering aspect where it's not certainly not unaware like the horror might be, but it's like, that's why it's more sort of like, maybe it has a very broad viewpoint rather than a and then like, because that couples with the idea that the law of the world is that it was created as essentially a neutral battleground.
Yeah.
And so if by sheer fact that it was made by this like the sum totals of these divine beings and demonic beings and all that, the world itself is an entity that has its own priorities and whatnot.
It probably hates the fact that it's neutral. Not the song, but the neutrality, the stalemates. Like, you've got 3 countries, each of which can fight one of the others, but couldn't manage to do both of them at the same time.
Yeah.
That's that I could imagine a world that's like, hang on, this isn't how it works. Like, that you can't maintain that. That's not maintainable, and I don't want to maintain that. That's got to be shaken up. We have to change that. There was never supposed to be that kind of balance. It doesn't fit. None of these countries are going to work as a result.
It was a thing where like the dragons were originally like the white blood cells of the song. Ooh. And then the giants rocked up and just essentially wiped out the newest generation, so they died out, and the song goes, shit. Oh, cool, that's my immune system. Okay. And then it got really sick, which we remember as the wasting plague.
Yeah.
And that was just the world reacting terribly to not having white blood cells anymore.
I think we should slowly start to wrap up, but I have a theory that I want to get out into the world. My theory is that the Donnedieu family are, or were, or somehow could be related to giants. Like, actually giants, but they're just undersized or magically undersized, and so they're just trying to bring the giants
shorter over like hundreds of years.
No, magically, like in the same way that Mysel and Heo are magically changed.
By
the Donnedieu family are like hiding giants.
They were like, well, this is going really poorly. So like, French Revolution happens. The noble's like, what if I put on ratty clothes and mussed up my hair and just like wandered into the mob and started shouting, like, "Do you think I can get away with that?" And a couple of giants were like, "What if I like, I don't know, shrunk myself?" And
Works.
like, no one's gonna suspect, a giant to be average human size.
Exactly. That's not a giant. That's a little.
Yeah, which ties into the idea of what if the song is also a giant?
Mm-hmm.
What if the song is
Or
just
what if it's a one of the what are they called? If it's an ascended saint of giants.
yeah, if humans can do it, and other races can do it, why not giants?
Why not giants?
I think there was also something because one of the things I thought potentially was like I'm sure I can't remember where it was, where it's mentioned, but I think there was something where it was like I think it might have been one of the places when like right at the beginning, like at Breezy Point, something like that, like one of the potential points of interest there.
Yeah.
I think it might have been that was like, it was believed to be this weapon. Like one of the theories is this thing was like secretly like a giant kin weapon.
Yep.
Because toward like the wasting plague happens, which kind of just wrecks their empire, which then causes the lesser races to rebel, and that they were essentially had a plan. Well, at one point their plan was if I can't have it, neither can you.
Yes.
And there was part of me which was like, I wonder if that's what Praetorians are. They're like, we're gonna die, but I can make this mechanical, like, undying race, and they're just gonna mess everyone up. But like, they didn't finish it, or they didn't, and so it's like,
Or they did finish it, and the Donadieu family are vaccine.
Yeah.
Because they can neutralize
at that point, either it's
the
like,
Praetorian.
Is Chevalier like a prototype that didn't have the thing, or is Chevalier like upon one of the things he can't remember his past was like, yeah, you were supposed to just. So it becomes like a Hellboy situation. It was like your job was to wipe them out, and he's like, I hear what you're saying, but counteroffer, go fuck yourself.
Yes.
And like that's not how I. Oh, come on.
So there was another. I don't think we spoke about this, but I think I was thinking about it in the shower this morning. Which was, what if, in fact, that situation is correct, and Praetorian are supposed to be infecting the planet, and what has happened, in fact, is that Chevalier's done that.
Well, that was the other version of that. Was what if the Praetorians were the wasting plague?
Yes, well, what if they are the wasting plague? No, but like, what if Chevalier actually has done that without realizing? I.e., the Donadieu family hear the song, go get a Chevalier, come back. Other people will now hear certain things because it is actually not a plague through bacteria. It is an oral plague. You hear it.
It's a broadcaster.
It's a broadcaster. So you've now got a Praetorian moving through the world where there have not been any Praetorian and infecting people with sound waves.
Because you need the Donadu and the Praetorian together, and they sort of, and that's why Spider and Jasper got magic.
Yup. That's what I think about while I'm in the shower.
I should. What if I'm a virus?
What if it's either a virus or a vaccine, right? Like that's which one am I going to be?
It's like they are like the little dose you get, so your body's used to it.
Yeah.
So they're like, all right, the wasting plague happened, and it's actually like the giant kin in their dying days are actually more benevolent. They're like, okay, that sucked. Let's make sure that they don't go through that. Like, we're dead, so we're gonna help as best we can. Like, we're gonna do something nice and kind of noble, but it didn't get fully implemented, and so it's only. It's like one of those like magic as technology as magic, where it's like it's magic, but it's actually just ancient technology that
it works.
is not understood.
As long as it works.
Just gonna
Sam,
put some cipher system into this.
Sam, I have a request. Can you, because I've been thinking about it for the last like 2.5 hours. Um, which we've been going for 2 hours 40 minutes, so I've been thinking about it for the last 2.5 hours. Can you just narrate Chevalier's side of things? I don't want to cry. I don't want KJ to cry, but I also want to know.
I feel like there might be spoilers
Oh.
if we did that, because it would be because like I said, I know what he did.
Yes.
In that I was like, when I was talking to Michelle after locking himself in the room, I was like it was like, here's what I kind of think, here's my pitch for what would happen, but also here's why. Like this is where my mind's at for why this would happen.
Yeah.
And I also was like, and also why, he never gave anyone a heads up about it.
Yeah.
It was like, this is why, this didn't happen, but this is the cause of all that. And, Michelle was just like, yes, that's all fine.
Great.
So, because a lot of that, because the way the other thing is, like, when I imagined like Chevalier leveling up, it was more reactivating systems that he kind of let atrophy. So in part, it's part of it's like when his system starts shutting down because of this gunk that he's been hit with, and then he just collapses, and then he's got this like internal conversation with Benno, being like, well, there's all this pent up energy from your battle mode that's going to overload our systems once we release it, and we can't hold it anymore because you've stopped. So it's just going to release back into your system, and that's just going to wreck everything. And he's like, all right, well, that's fine, because we can just shunt it into, like, we have like energy catchment for that, which, like, in mechanically in Open Legend, there's a feat you can get, which is like, you essentially have buffer for fatigue.
Yeah.
So it's like when you get your first point of fatigue, you're still at 0.
Yeah.
And then you become.
When you start getting.
He's like, so he's like, yeah, he's like, all right, we'll put it together. He's like, and Benno's just like, those systems aren't working. We haven't gotten them back up. And Chevalier's just like, right, yes, that is true. Fuck. All right. It's essentially like, we have one option. It's a pre-planned thing. Do it. That's it. That's all we can do. We don't have options. And then he just lies there and waits while, like, everything's sort of like internally put in place for his like worst case. He's like, in case of emergency, this is the system to pull on. And he's like, I've never used this to my memory. Really hope it works. Hope it does what I'm pretty sure. It's like, I feel like I know what it's supposed to do, but there's been no way for me to test that because
Haven't done it.
It's kind of like you don't go back at that point. So let's go. And then that's what he. I had, because we talked about this at the time. I was like, do you want there to be some kind of conversation?
Yes.
Like in that moment, it's like,
and I was like, mm-mm.
Yeah, it was like, because it's like technically, mechanically, he's unconscious.
Yes.
That's not, he can't. But for narrative purposes, I feel like Michelle will be okay with it.
Oh yeah.
At the very least, like one of the things I thought, depending on how it went, was that she wouldn't have a conversation with Chevalier. She'd have a conversation with Benno. And be like, which is, I don't even know if Alexandra is aware of Benno.
No, she's not. That would have been fascinating, but also horrible.
But it'd be like, it's this moment
Who
like,
are you?
boom, I'm sorry, the Praetorian you're after cannot be reached at the moment. May you please leave a message? I'm your helpful assistant, Benno. How may I help you this?
No. God, no. She would have fallen. She'd lose her shit. That's the point at which she's like, stop it, and then like entropy. Make it go.
There's a thing inside of, because that was the thing. Like it's like when because that was his whole like when in D&D when he raged, and in Open Legend when he was released combat restrictions level 1. And then it was release combat restrictions level 0 against. But I never like codified it into like this is, but I basically imagine there are more than that. Like it goes up.
Yeah.
But the whole thing was that like Benno is very, very useful on the battlefield.
Yes.
Day to day, immensely irritating. But
Should I kill that one and that one?
It's like someone like gives you a cross look, which who would do that to a Praetorian in the middle of a city? It'd be like, that person has hostile intent. Here's the 6 easiest ways to kill them. And he's like, Benno, shut up. I don't need that in my day.
6 easiest. Just
it's
6.
like, number 3 will surprise you.
I would look.
Well, it's like that's like everyone. It's like Benno only knows things in terms of battlefield situations. So it's like, cool, you're surrounded by people I don't know. The only logical conclusion is those are combatants that are enemies.
Yeah.
So here's how we're going to deal with this situation. And Chevalier just going, they're not. They're just people going about their day. And so Chevalier has spent a not insignificant amount of time basically within the confines of what Benno can do, basically tweaking it. And essentially one of the things was these combat restrictions, where it's like, okay, at combat restriction, blah, the situation is fine. We don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
You might not recognize these people, but we're whatever. But to make it work, it was like releasing restriction level 1 and restriction level 2 had to be verbal.
Yes.
Because that was like, we need verbal confirmation that you want me to do this.
Yeah.
Where everything else is just in his head.
Yeah.
So that's why it doesn't come out. And then so all anyone else hears is when he gets ready to fight. And so it sounds like he's releasing the restrictions to himself. And it's always like, no. Chevalier is not releasing restrictions on himself. He's not restricted. It's all of his systems that he's like, I don't need you right now. But then he's like, okay, now it would be useful.
And that's exactly what Alexandre thinks is happening. He's like,
Spider and stuff are like, does he have to actively stop himself from killing people?
I mean, Alexandre also thinks that though. He's actively choosing to, which is why the whole conversation
He's choosing not to, but he's not like, he doesn't have to like lock that stuff away. He's not. He just doesn't want the notifications happening all the time.
Which to Alexandre, she doesn't know that.
No, well, he doesn't.
But also, before she left home, she'd never heard it because they'd never been in that situation. Yeah. So not even.
She also hadn't seen him in armor.
She hadn't seen him in armor. She was freaked to fuck out.
Weirdly gangly.
Yeah.
Thing with a massive backpack and a face.
You mean normal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it does think, because that was like that's his normal look, but the thing that's immediately apparent when he's actually armored up is he's suddenly the correct proportion.
Yes.
Where before he was weirdly like thin and lanky, and then suddenly I was like, oh, that you look wrong, but on the other hand, you look correct.
Yes.
And which is, I imagine, uncomfortable. It's like, oh, my friend looks correct when he's in armor.
Sounds about right to me.
Oh, okay.
But correct, but to Alexandre still wrong. So that's fun.
Still like, yeah.
Still wrong because he's not what she grew up with. So to her, what's incorrect, what's correct to everyone else, to her is like. As
we said earlier, like she left home a month and a half ago.
Yes.
So for 18 years, he was a particular way.
Yes.
for a month and a bit, he was the other way.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That's wrong.
so it's like, be like, walking out and finding like, a favorite uncle who's, the one that always makes you laugh is now in full combat fatigues, and is just like racking a rifle, going, "Cool, we're going for a walk now.
It
You
makes
ready to
me.
go?"
It makes me think of all those people with their babies who they have the baby and then they shave for the first time, and the response,
Maybe it's just like, "What are you doing? Who are you?"
"Who's this? I don't know. Who's? Mom, where's Dad?
Yeah,
Where's Dad?" It's that.
yeah.
Um, and on that note, hopefully finding out where Spider's dad is next week. But
Yeah, I think we asked questions of like what's Spider's deal, and then we just didn't.
we did.
We
We
got
asked
distracted.
nobody knows what Spider's deal is. We don't. I still think.
Well, we do. Like there's
Spider-
definitely a bunch of stuff about Spider that we're aware of.
Oh, we know about Spider.
That is we as players are aware of, but as characters, not so much. And then what we learned last week is that there's also a bunch of stuff we don't know about.
There's layers to this. There's layers, and I don't like it.
There was extra secrets that we were we were like, oh wait, no, I thought it was the other thing. No, oh, okay.
Absolute layers. Absolute layers.
So, it was definitely a big, very enjoyable part of. I mean, I joked about it in the tweet afterwards. It was like everyone contributed to learning stuff, and none of it was fun for the characters. The players enjoyed it immensely, but it was just like it was it was the worst kind of bonding moment. Everyone got to share.
No, actually, if you
learn.
think about it, Spider did not.
Well, he
I
certainly
mean,
did.
the information that he got on, like,
Oh yeah, he didn't share it specifically about that,
no.
but like he shared a bunch of stuff that we hadn't
Yes.
previously been told, or he opened up
Yeah.
more than he really had.
It was the opening up that led to the ticking. Wouldn't have happened otherwise. Because that was the cue. I was like, when is this ever gonna wait? This is now. This is now. We can talk about this now.
Yeah, well, it was kind of like like having that conversation when Mysel and Spider had the conversation, and it's like it was like, I don't think you've told anyone this much information this quickly, but this child is just like, hi. And suddenly it's like, allow me to tell you this pertinent background story. It's probably inappropriate for a child, but all right, let's go.
Who? What? What?
Like after we had gone to like the Velbadran from the Hive were attacking, and we went, but Spider was like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And then we got back, and then we all had this whole conversation.
Yeah.
But like for Mysel, it was like there was a bunch of stuff that was explained, though it was he tried to explain mostly poorly. But he was also aware that Spider wasn't there for that, so he's like, and part of it was like he is aware that he makes people uncomfortable, so he's trying. There was part of that was trying to alleviate some of that, but he's like, I should go and have a chat with Spider in case there's stuff there. But as a player, it was just like when like early conversations with Chevalier was very like he shared some stuff, but it was very sort of surface, and like with a little dip, with a little bit of like, it's like, oh, okay, that was like, this little bit was like that was that. But part of that was because early on, like Spider was, well, he also had his own trust issues.
Yeah.
And he was trying to work out how to trust again, but he'd kind of gone through that, and now this very innocent child just rocks up, and Spider much more quickly goes, here's some information, here's personal details, bruh. And it's like starts telling him about this, like his initial stuff with like his gang, with his which he hadn't told a bunch of people.
Which he hasn't told many people. I don't think he's actually mentioned it.
he's mentioned, like, that was the thing. He talked a little bit about the gang to Chevalier, but it was more in that thing of like, I had a group, someone betrayed me, and now I'm
Yeah.
hesitant. And Chevalier being like, I get it. I'm not upset that you're slow to trust me. Like, that's fine. But, you know, I'm not gonna. Whereas Mysel just rocks up and he's like, allow me to open up to you, small child. And I went, oh, that was different. That was more information than I expected.
It happens. I mean, it happens to me all the time, but that's I guess a psych thing. Like, I sat in an Uber this morning and someone explained their life to me and were like, yeah, so I just don't understand why my son doesn't like me. And I'm like, the amount of information you've given me, I could tell you, but it would really cost you a lot of money, so I won't.
You gotta pay me.
You gotta figure that out, because I'm not on the clock. You're an Uber driver taking me to work, and I'm gonna have more work to do.
I have to do this so much.
I have
can't do it more for free.
This is my life. I can't do this now. There's too much. And you won't let me out of the car, because I've had that situation happen before.
I mean, my point ultimately being,
yes.
It was nice to see Spider opening up more, both then and this last previous. Even
I feel like
the end result was harrowing.
I feel like it's been really good for Alexandre to see Spider open up.
Well, Alexandre defaults to assuming people don't like her.
She still doesn't think Spider likes her.
Sure.
Like, that default has not changed. But she never thought that Spider disliked her. She thought that Spider was apathetic of her. Spider just did not care. And that, to all intents and purposes, hasn't really changed. But some of the things that he said over the last couple of sessions, she's been like, huh? So maybe it will, if it is true. She's just been having a couple of like, why would you say something like that?
I mean, that's been happening for her a lot.
Yes. I mean, it happens for her a lot because she is
She is who she is.
She's Alexandre. Yeah. Let's say goodbye. Goodbye. I don't.
In-stream.
We will be back next week, and we will find out if.
I mean.
We'll find out. Will we find anything out?
I mean.
We'll find out if any of this.
Do you know what I'm looking forward to, and also not looking forward to? Mysel telling Spider what he learned about Cedric.
Does he have to?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the thought process. Like, I don't want to do that, but
it would. Yeah.
It is amazingly pertinent information. It just sucks.
Yeah. It does. Alexandra will offer to kill him.
Cedric. She means Cedric.
Who?
It was like, just to the audience, she means Cedric, not... It's like, don't worry, Mysel, I'll spare you this awkward conversation and kill Spider.
I just need to point out, nobody, not one person, loves Alexandria when they just meet her. Nobody does. Not even KJ. Confession. I don't like Alexandra. I didn't like Alexandra the first day I saw her. She's really grown on me. I love her now. You know, same.
I feel like there's a vast difference between the statement, nobody loves her the first time they meet her, and everybody dislikes her the first time they meet her. because like Mysel didn't love her the first time he met her,
No.
but he certainly was like he was more. You seem cool. Let's go.
Oh, thank
Cool.
you for
Like
following Nicole 130. Thank you for the follow.
Thank you very much. This is a weird episode to join.
This is
to
a
join
really
on.
weird episode to follow on. We've got some story coming next week. It's
You
going to
don't
be.
know this, but it might as well be our catchphrase of "I'm not sorry, but I'm also sorry."
I'm sorry, but I'm not at all sorry,
No,
and it's
I'm not. I'm sorry, but also not at all sorry.
not at all
Other
sorry.
way
It's
around.
in this game can be absolutely hilarious, and then 10 minutes later we're all crying, and that's just the way it is. Really is just the way it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, we get to find out if any of our hypotheses are accurate, and I kind of hope that they are, but also really don't want them to be. Really don't want them to be, but also kind of do for the vindication, but not for the characters, just for the vindication.
Still, I can't shake the image of Michelle just watching this and cackling.
That's a big, but
And,
you know what?
And or taking notes.
¿Por qué no los dos?
Cackling while taking notes.
Yes.
That's even worse. Oh no.
Michelle, I hope you feel well rested and lenient. Kind.
KJ pointing out that they'll have tissues ready, as has become a standard practice. Like I don't know if those games are still available, but if you find Paddington Prowler with Shauntelle and I,
Oh my goodness. That was just crying. Like it was like you turn up ready to cry. It's like, have I got my crying eyes on today?
It's like I am not exaggerating when I said that I had tears streaming down my face.
No, that's not an exaggeration.
The bottom third of the last episode. It's a full hour of just being like,
yeah, I'm trying not to.
And then trying to every now and again be like, I have to do lines in character now.
Excuse me, while I'm just gonna talk. But
the character is not in a different state than I am. So
that's fine. But I think that's kind of why I enjoy streaming, but also TTRPG in the sense that it is just he really is. It is just long form improv, and you don't get that kind of long form improv in a theatre. You don't get that sort of long form improv on a film. We've been playing this game for 2 years. These characters are alive, and I love that.
Oh, like
I love it.
I definitely clipped it, but like the moment of realization, what had happened to Valier was literally like, you can see me. I'm literally looking at the other screen because I'm like, I have to make some stuff. Do some stuff on the camera, and then suddenly just like hand over mouth, just shock. I'm just like, what have I done?
I have never watched that episode back. I've never watched it back because I remember it, and I don't need to watch it back. But it's one of the only episodes I've never actually watched. Because I tend to go back and watch so I can write something. I knew what I was writing the second it happened, so it wasn't like I needed
we got this.
I don't need to go back. So yeah, that's an experience.
Yeah, I don't often like sit down and just watch the whole thing, but there are some points I'll go back and watch.
Yeah.
Particularly, I mean, like in stuff where like last week when I would do partly as soon as seeing the corner of my eye, I just see that I'm getting yelled at in chat, and I'm like, "What? Hang on." I go back and watch it, and I'm watching it back, going, "Oh no, I'm a monster. It's rough." And I knew going in, like you can watch that scene back if you wish. And it's like I literally falter when I started. Like that wasn't a planned like character moment. That was Sam going, "Oh, okay, let's go." And I was just like, he was like, "Jasper, okay." And I was just like, I was trying to hold it together myself for that scene. So I was like, all right, yeah, the people who aren't burdened by the need to stay in character. I was just like,
I love using the character so that I don't have to worry about things. There are times when I will answer a question in characters so that the feelings can be felt, so that then later I'm good.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, let's be in character for this because this is gonna hurt, and I don't want to hurt, but like she needs to.
Yeah.
So I'll let her hurt for a bit, and then I'm fine later.
Manage the bleed.
Manage the bleed. Manage the bleed, and then just it's easier to disconnect from when that is the case. But we have gone into meta improvisation.
Oh, yeah.
We will see you next
So
week.
it's like,
We will
you
learn
ever
all of the
watch two
things.
ADHD people try and say goodbye?
Oh my goodness, it doesn't work. This is what happens after game.
I had, I have this memo at my 21st birthday. A friend of mine from uni came up to say goodbye, and I was like, but fairly certain you said you didn't need to leave for like another half hour, and she said, I know, that's why I'm saying goodbye now.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, fair, yep,
Mm-hmm.
no, wise, very wise.
I legitimately got a note from my not a note, a physical note, but I had a therapy session, and my therapist was like, but why are you going to bed so late on a Saturday? And I was like, well, let me explain to you how several neurodivergent people get together and play a game.
I'm going to unpack. Like, the funny thing for me, also, it's like, not only is it a bunch of neurodivergent people playing game, it's a bunch of neurodivergent people playing game where most of us are doing it, like, it's 1 a.m. for me right now.
Yep, it is 1 a.m. now.
And that was like, that is a holdover from us picking a time when we were on a channel that we later found out had we had cross purposes of what the show would be, which it wasn't like both sides hadn't communicated clearly. And so it was a sudden realization of like, oh, you're looking for this and we're doing something different.
Yes.
And the time that we decided to do the show on is very good for the thing you want.
Yep.
Not necessarily good for the thing we want. Right.
Yep.
And then after that, when we were like, do you think we can change? It was like, no, we have 5 neurodivergent people trying to reschedule.
No.
No.
But the moral of the story is that my therapist gave me homework to try to get out of stream on time. And we were only supposed to be going for 2 hours, and it's now been 3 hours and 8 minutes. So I'm gonna end the stream. And right. I'm so sorry to my therapist and to me in the morning when I have to be up to play a game at 9 a.m.
Oh well, look, you have to be up.
Gotta be up.
I had a great conversation with my doctor, and I was like, look, I'm trying to get better sleep, and she went, I don't care when you go to sleep, as long as you get an amount of sleep, and it's consistent. Currently, it is, and I was like, that's great, but also amazingly unhelpful.
I
want to pull it back.
And she's like, that at all.
I mean, I think our doctors had different objectives in
Mine's
our session.
Mine's a therapist, not a doctor.
Mine was for sleep apnea, and was like, your entire objective is to have more sleep. I don't care when you get it. As long as it is basically consistent.
We're leaving now. We'll be back next week at the same time. I hope you've enjoyed this.
Look at all these like Twitter addresses. You should go to them.
Look at Twitter handles
and follow them. They're great.
And if you want to see maybe a Faye, come do that on Monday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time at Gehenna Gaming. I'm just going to throw a load of
go to our YouTube page and watch Chauntelle's. I just pointed her on Zoom. It's definitely not going to work for the stream, but it's Chauntelle's first DMing.
It's my first
time
DMing.
Running a game.
If
you can see the first episode on our YouTube page right now.
If my players are really, really keen, I might be doing that 12 hours, 24 hours from now. This could be the strangest day of my life. So I go from this to 9 a.m. game to then 10 p.m. game
playing.
or 11 p.m. game or midnight
I,
game.
I
Be
no
fun.
no spoilers, but at the very least, for anyone who's a fan of the Dean, you gotta see this. Like,
Yes.
there's a distinct moment, and you'll know it when it
Oh
happens,
yeah. You
where
will.
because I had it on one screen doing something else, and I had to stop what I was doing and be like, what just happened? What was that? Where did that come from?
That is generically speaking the thirst crew. That crew is just full of thirst. And could you tell?
I was
Could you tell,
vaguely
sir?
aware,
Could you
but not at all ready.
Could you tell how much thirst was available in
You
that
mean
game?
you mean yeah? Look, I don't want to spoil anything, but
Don't.
yeah, I noticed. I think people in other houses near me noticed.
There's a reason. There's a reason we play together, and it's because we all trust that the thirst will never be too much or
You
go
know
too
where
far.
you know the correct level and where the line
Yes.
is and how to go to the line
Exactly.
without
We
going past.
thirst line,
Yeah.
and it's there. So check out our
I
YouTube. I
I,
don't have a link
I
right
look
now.
forward to a long series of shows where it's all about like playing different systems and just working out how to make them thirsty.
Oh, I mean,
Like,
there's already thirsty sword lesbians.
well, that's the
We
thing.
have
Like
to try and
you're
find a way to make that
currently
not
like
thirsty.
you're playing games which are inherently thirsty to degrees. Like no, you got to play games that
Vampire,
aren't,
no.
and then
Masks
just
probably
like
can do it.
and
Relics
the
could
problem
do
being
it.
that like I don't know what game is inherently not thirsty.
Alice is missing. Probably not.
Play a game of 10 candles.
I could make that. That would be.
Yeah, no. As soon as I
That's
said it, I was like,
that's
no, I'm
you-
that's
mm-mm.
I'm that's.
Good Society
Oh,
was too
everyone is
easy.
John. Everyone is John.
No,
Can't be
no.
too thirsty.
I,
Can't be too
I'm,
thirsty when you're all the same person. No,
Have you met you?
I don't believe that even as I say it.
Yeah, I can't think of a game that I could not make
Yeah,
thirsty.
I mean, because it's not a mechanics thing. It's a you bringing the role playing.
Yes, exactly. It is. I bring the thirst.
You'd have to find a game that like prevents you from role playing. At which point, what are you doing? That's a bad game. Put it away.
That's a video game.
Yeah. Oh please. I now it's like the four of you just playing Minecraft, and it's just like nope.
Oh no, no,
you're
no,
wrong,
not
you're
Minecraft. No,
wrong.
no, no. We can choose where the blocks go. It would be ridiculous. Okay.
Rules out Tetris as well.
You know, things slot together very well.
Yeah.
See, I can do it. I'm
Yeah.
good. I'm just good at it. I'm just good at thirst. I can make it
Yeah.
happen.
Now imagine that, but there's four of them
Yeah, imagine that, but four
bouncing
of us.
off each other.
Mm-hmm.
Not like that, but sometimes like that.
But sometimes it be like that. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.